You were followed on the Florida Trail?
Yeah. A guy stopped me. Immediately, I'm like, you're weird. Weird vibe, weird questions. Blew him off, kept walking. And then he drove away. I finished this road walk, and I'm like a mile into this wooded section off the road. And then there's a dude waving at me, like ecstatic to see me. And I'm thinking, okay, like, who is this? Logically, there must be some person I saw or something, and I get closer, and I'm like, holy shit, this is the friggin' weird guy that drove by me. He hiked in, and he waited. There was no other hikers. I was very well aware. I was like, this could not be good.
Welcome to Backpacker Radio, presented by The Trek. I'm your co-host, Zach Badger Davis. Sitting to my right is...
Hi, I'm Juliana Chauncey, a.k.a. Chaunce.
Chaunce, what do you think of our sign?
I think it's cool. I like all the different colors. I didn't know we would have different color options.
Yeah. Now tell me what you really think.
That has nothing to do with the sign.
Yeah, the sign is
my
nice.
fault is purely with you.
Yeah, the sign is...
The sign's great.
Shout out to Carpenter Woodworks. I should have had this...
Well, while you look it up, I can say what you did. Zach got really excited about the sign, and he mounted it in what might not be the best spot. It's not a terrible spot. It just might not be the best spot in the kindest way.
Yeah. I put no thought into the position. Just the wall. I knew I wanted that wall, but I didn't put any thought into the position. It does feel like if you just closed your eyes and threw a dart at the wall, that's where I put it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sign is really cool.
The sign's great.
Yeah. Shout out to Brian Carpenter of carpenter-woodworks.com. By the way, I paid for it. This is not an exchange. He did great work. I want to shout him out because he's very cool. And if you go to AT Trail Days, he will be there, or at least he has been to previous AT Trail Days. I don't want to speak for him, but he's got a ton of awesome woodwork signs at his booth there. Okay, a few reminders before we get to today's highly anticipated interview. First is, if you enjoy the show and you want some additional exclusive content, head on over to patreon.com/backpackerradio. We do 1 to 2, sometimes 3 episodes per month, and it's just $5 per month, less than... Everything is more than $5 per month now. Since we've started doing Patreon, the cost of a cup of Starbucks coffee has gotten more expensive than a month of supporting Backpacker Radio.
Yes.
And maybe that's just, I get the nitro cold brew, and the smallest size is now over $5, which is asinine.
No, I also get the strawberry refresher, which is essentially just water juice, and that is more expensive than it should be as well.
How much is that pink drink?
Depends. If you want light ice, they charge you more.
They charge you, because they're giving you more drink?
Yeah, because they're giving you more drink. So that's the hack that finally got de-hacked.
Yeah.
I get a venti because I want the largest size, even though it's not the largest size. And I think, I don't know, I haven't gotten one for a while. I would say between 5 and 7.
Yeah. So more
which
than...
is so stupid for juice. I could go to the grocery store and get a gallon of juice for less.
Is it caffeinated? It is, right? Yeah.
That's not worth $2 more.
No.
I just ate a stroopwafel that was caffeinated.
Yeah.
That was free.
So here's the game plan. Go to the grocery store, get some delicious juice, and then hit us up on Patreon because we appreciate your support.
Yes.
People do an extra Patreon today if you've got the time. I know, obviously, your flight's late, so we can make it happen. Next is... if you're taking on a long-distance backpacking trek in 2025, and I know somebody who is, consider hitting us up at the Trek. We are currently accepting blogger applications, and 2025 is going to be a banner year. I don't know if you've had a chance to interact with Jess yet. She's our new community and marketing manager. She's going to develop a whole system for bloggers, mail drops, gear discounts, all the good stuff. So, yeah, that's her gig, is making the blogger program as awesome as possible. I'll make sure to make an intro after this. But, yeah, if you're looking to take on a long-distance trek in 2025 and you want an awesome large platform, hit us up. Link in the show notes. Lastly but not leastly, Chauncey, I'll let you take this one.
Yes, it is the holiday season, yay! And that means our annual coming together of me and Zach's books is
Split
happening.
Personality.
Yeah, me having fun with me. No, me and Zach do a book gift package every holiday season where you can get Hiking from Home, a long distance hiking guide for family and friends, and where is my voice going? Either Appalachian Trials or Pacific Crest Trials, depending on the trail that you are hiking. And you get a nice little bundle of the both of them. They're both signed, and they make a great gift because you get one for you and one for your worrying family member who's like, what are you doing? That's insane. You're going to die. And so you can build your mental stamina via Zach's book. You can calm some worrying nerves via mine. It makes a nice little gift under the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know if we leave a spot for them to write anything, but it's also a good way for you to break that you're doing a trail to your family.
Sure. Yeah.
Nothing beats having the book and like putting, like, you could put a little card with it that says, by the way, I'm doing this in March.
Yeah.
Real good way to change the holidays from being about politics to being about what the hell is my kid doing.
Totally. Yeah. If you want custom note requests in your signature, definitely hit us up. I think there's an option to do that in the checkout page, but if not, you can send us a note at podcast@thetrek.co and we'll make sure to heed that. I used to do drawings for folks.
Yeah.
And then I'm such a bad artist that I wanted to ensure that if I'm going to draw on somebody's book, I want it to look nice. So I would do like a rough draft on like a piece of paper before I would do it.
Yeah.
And like look at an image on my computer and like I would spend anywhere from like 30 to 45 minutes doing this entire process. I've since stopped doing drawings because it's just not a productive use of anybody's time.
You actually also took up some of my time because I had requests for drawings that were specifically because Zach drew a robot in my book, so can you draw a robot in my book?
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, absolutely. What does a robot look like?
Yeah, but Chance is artistic, so she can do them quickly. So Chance will still do the drawings. I won't. I'm not going to draw on anyone's books this year.
Yes,
though.
I can draw you something.
But I'll use words. And good luck trying to discern it because I have the worst chicken scratch in the history of time. Okay. And the link to get our gift package is in the show notes as well. And the retail value on this is $60. We're selling it to you guys for $40. So Merry fucking Christmas, guys.
Mm-hmm.
That was some holiday cheer.
Yeah, that was a lot.
All right, let's get to our interview. We are joined by a name you've definitely heard on this podcast many times in the past. This is Madison Blagden, is a thru-hiker with more than 11,000 miles under her trail runners. After starting with hiking 1,300 miles of the PCT in 2017, she hiked the full trail in 2022 and then went on to be the second known female finisher of the 5,500-mile Eastern Continental Divide Trail, which connects Key West, Florida, in Cape Gasp in Quebec. Did I say that correct?
Yeah, Gaspé.
Gaspé, not even close. This year, Pegleg is about to complete her Triple Crown. She just did. We'll get the full rundown on that. Pegleg, thank you so much for joining us here on Backpacker Radio.
Thank you so much for having me.
So where do we start? I want to start with, you started blogging for the Trek in 2023. Do you know how many blog posts you've written?
I know that it is well over 200. I don't know if it's over 250.
I just had the number.
I see it sometimes.
Yeah. You're at 283.
Yeah, that's so many.
Wait, no.
Yeah.
No.
283 since
Well,
2020,
last
since
year,
last year.
I did every other day together, and this year it's one day per blog.
Yeah.
Guys, what episode number is this? Scroll up, Zach.
Oh, shit.
Wait, really?
That's why I'm freaking out. I don't think that's impressive.
That's
yeah,
the
sure.
same
But that's
episode for
wild.
this?
Yeah, this is episode 283.
The odds on that are borderline impossible.
Especially, yeah, I posted one this morning too, so
That's funny.
rounded it out
You got us
perfectly.
to the exact number.
Wow.
283.
Oh, this is
episode
gonna be a good one.
283. Yeah.
Ooh.
So everything came together. That is, so you're our most prolific blogger ever, and you started last year.
Wow.
That's amazing. So I guess I obviously want to talk all about the hikes, but I want to know a little bit about what is your process for blogging? Because as somebody who, quote unquote, like at one point blogged for a living, when I hiked the PCT, I wrote 3 blog posts.
Yeah.
So I'm really impressed with your ability, because it's not like you're doing short miles either. It's not like you're doing 12-mile days. You're still hauling ass.
Yeah.
How do you write every single day?
Yeah. Well, I guess it kind of depends what trail you're on, what section you're on. If I'm really good, I'll voice to text. That's something I didn't used to do. I used to type everything on my phone.
Sure.
So if I voice to text at the end of the day and make notes on everything, and then when I get to town, I do like grammatical checks and stuff, but it ebbs and flows. Like I haven't done anything besides little notes for the last 30 days.
Okay. How accurate is your voice to text? Because Chance can attest, when I text our group with voice to text,
It's concerning.
it's like, it sounds like I'm having a stroke
Yeah.
or something. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, it's not great. You have to talk really slow to it, and then it still messes up like every name of a place. it's still easier than writing, but I have to go back through and read the entire thing and make changes to it. Like, it's not the best.
Yesterday I was asking ChatGPT something about ashwagandha, and it came out like Asheville plus Rwanda or something. It was something so far off. I was like, I forgot what I was even talking about because it was so far off.
What were you asking ChatGPT about ashwagandha?
Because I was taking ashwagandha as like the supplement, the pill, but I realized that I had also taken AG1 that morning, which has ashwagandha. So I'm like, what is the safe limit of ashwagandha?
What is it?
So here's the thing: is AG1 doesn't share their blend, so you don't even know how much ashwagandha is in AG1. So.
But what's the safe limit?
I have no idea.
Okay, thanks, ChatGPT.
It's more. I mean, it gave me an answer, but in the context of the answer, I asked him like, I took this much of the pill and I took a dose of AG1. And it's like AG1 does not share their formula.
Huh.
Yeah. Sorry, sidetracked. And in addition to blogging every day, I think starting this for the CDT hike, you're also doing video updates on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's been an ambitious year, and it's funny, I really wanted to do like full length YouTube videos with like a GoPro, and it only took like the first week on the CDT to be like, just the blogging and the short videos gonna be overly ambitious. Anything else just would have been impossible.
Yeah. Video is such a foreign world to me personally. Part of me thinks, is YouTube not easier because there's less expectations in terms of editing? I feel like you could just like piece together a few 3-minute videos and then like just put it up. Whereas like you're doing more editing and production work with the short form videos. I feel like that would be harder. Is that not accurate?
I have no idea. I've never done videos or anything before. It seemed like the long ones were going to be more editing and stuff. I don't know. It looks like I'm doing a lot of editing on the short ones, but it's fairly click 'em all. And the most time-consuming thing is like voice to texting, because you're never alone.
Yeah.
You're never alone in a single hotel room all year.
Yeah.
So I'm like hiding in the stairwell somewhere, talking to myself until someone walks in, and that was the hardest thing probably.
Yeah. Do you have insight on the?
I think the short videos are more time consuming because the long videos you're kind of just trimming end clips to make sure that it flows well and like deleting anything that feels like it's running too long. But then if you're taking a long video and you're formatting it for social media, you need to make sure that it looks right when you're changing orientations. So you have to make sure that if this is all horizontal clips, when it goes vertical, are you still in frame for everything? And then you also have to rescan the video you just made to find the kind of standout moments and then piece those together. And a lot of things with social media is fast clips and fast cuts. So the amount of time, I think, is more meticulous for the short form video than the long form.
Yeah. Are you drawn to video or writing? One or the other more?
I feel like I enjoy the writing more, but I've really liked making the videos. It's been fun. And I think the internet likes the reels content.
Sure.
It's very clear, like photos and stuff don't do very well on social media, and the reels, I don't know why. I just feel like the quality doesn't even have to be that high.
Yeah.
And people love to just listen to something or read the little closed captions, and I don't know.
Yeah. I think Instagram saw how successful TikTok was getting, or like, oh shit, we have to upend them. Cool. Let's talk some backpacking stuff. So your first long distance backpacking trip, at least according to our notes, is 2017.
Yes.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was your journey to the PCT in 2017?
Yeah, I had, besides like a childhood trip where we overnight camped and had a little bit of hiking gear, I'd never overnight camped before 2017. And I had a college midlife crisis, I guess, and was wanting to change my major and just decided to take a semester off. My roommate had climbed Katahdin, and she was telling me about the AT, and I just kind of wound up deciding pretty much on a whim to do the PCT. I knew nothing about it. Pretty sure I bought your book because it came out, it was before 2017, right?
Mm-hmm. The PCT book?
Yeah,
PCT.
I
mean, both were, yes. When was the PCT? I think the PCT book was 2015.
Yeah.
AT book was 12.
Yeah. I bought like 4 books, your book, Yogi's Guide, and a couple other ones, and just took a semester off, planned everything, knew nothing, horrible gear, really heavy backpack.
When did you start?
May 18th.
Okay.
Hot.
Yeah, hot.
Yeah.
Really hot, but it was actually the biggest snow year, the heaviest snow year until just like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So we were able to get straight through the Sierra, which I think probably wouldn't have been possible. And it was deep, deep snow even in July when we went through.
I imagine the water I guess, were they worse in June or in July? Because if you still have snow out there, I'd imagine the hottest time is when the water crossings are the scariest, but I don't know that to be true.
It was a pretty scary year for river crossings.
Yeah.
2 hikers passed away. I actually started at Campo at the terminus with Strawberry, the girl who passed away. We had a couple that if someone hadn't been, like a big guy hadn't been wading in the river on the other side with his arm out, you probably couldn't have crossed. Or maybe would have had to set up camp and wait for the morning or something.
Yeah. Obviously, want to talk more in depth about the PCT, but why the PCT over the AT? If stories of Katahdin are what got you into thru-hiking.
I know. I don't know why. I think California just seemed that was like such an epic adventure. I'm from Massachusetts. AT is right there. I just thought, oh, it'd be so cool to go out to the West Coast, do this hike.
Yeah. Did you have thoughts of like, I will come back and hike the AT one day, or when you started off, like this might be the backpacking trip?
Yeah, I don't think I even knew enough about all the trails to think that far ahead. I didn't know what I knew. I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah. Walk me through some of those early first-time backpacking mistakes.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I vividly remember my pack being so heavy it was hard to get off the ground. Osprey 65-liter packed to the brim, 100% had that little REI snake bite kit. For sure, no doubt. That little like anti-venom kit.
Yeah.
I had everything. And it was just, it was hard climbing. I just remember being so tired, and it was hot, and we were carrying like 7 liters of water, which I probably would never do now. But I was just, it was slow. It was really hard, but I liked it immediately. Like I definitely never wanted to go home, even though it was like pretty tough. Like met amazing people really quickly, and people helped me to get my pack lighter at least a little bit early on.
Did you ever weigh your pack? Did you know what your base weight was starting out?
No, but with food and water, there's no way it wasn't getting close to like 50 pounds.
Wow.
Because I mean, I definitely carried 7 liters of water more than once.
Yeah.
So that's 15 pounds.
Yeah.
16.
And did you know that mid-May was late to start the trail?
I kind of knew, because when I signed in to get the permit, they'd actually early opened them. So when I went in on the date, I didn't realize they had opened them a week early, and all the good permits were gone. Like I did have goals to get an earlier one, but that was all that was left.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't realize that if I didn't have the time to do the whole trail, but I thought I was going to make it further, I didn't realize you probably aren't finishing if you start mid-May.
Yeah.
Like at the rate I was going, I never would have finished if I had had the time to do it.
Uh-huh.
But
what was the time constraint?
college.
Uh-huh.
I was enrolled in a fall semester of college.
Yeah.
So I had 100 days, basically.
Yeah. What was the turnaround time between doing the section of the PCT and starting class?
Yeah. I mean, I think college usually starts in like September, early September, and I finished the end of August.
Okay.
So I was back, I think, within like a week and a half, probably.
How hard is it to get 1,700 miles into a trail and have to get off, not because of an injury, not because you're running out of money, but like for school?
Yeah. I think now it would be harder. I can't imagine getting off in the middle of a hike. But back then, I was in a tramily and pretty much the whole tramily got off. One person broke their foot and someone else was like sore, and one of the guys I was with had kind of a scary experience in the Sierra where he fell on a log crossing and he just sort of burnt out after that. I think it just freaked him out. So every single person I was hiking with within a week and a half was off trail, which I think made it easier. Yeah, then it didn't feel hard. I think it would be really difficult now.
Mm.
Did you know what you were getting yourself into in terms of this Sierra?
No. Looking back and knowing what I know now was kind of scary. that I went on that out in a year like that in the desert. And then the Sierra, the mountain passes were like they would scare me now. The river crossings, they would scare me. We didn't do anything. I haven't done anything like that snow since, probably. But luckily I was so ignorant. I didn't even know I should be really scared.
Yeah.
I do think that's something that I've noticed too, is like things that if I was just going out for a day that I would be like, oh, this is fun, you know? On a hiking trip, I look at the same type of scenario and I'm like, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
And I think like you learn to be afraid of certain things, which is good. But it's also interesting because it's like if I found myself in this predicament, like just dicking around, I don't know like if I would think it's as scary as when you're actually out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, when you can't, and you don't really want to turn back. Turning back's the worst case scenario. But yeah, we did mountain passes when I had no spikes on, and we did river crossings that doing things like that now kind of scares me sometimes because I think I remember how scary it was then, and it just sort of, it just brings you right back to just being in water that's so deep and fast moving. You're like, if I slip, I'm wrecked. It's over.
I assume word of the 2 hikers that passed had gotten out prior to you going into the Sierra.
Yeah. Well, it was 4 or 5 days before us that the one girl slipped and fell, and we read about it in a trail register. I don't know who thought that was appropriate to do because it was pretty scary and sad, and we had, I think, just crossed through the rivers in Kings Canyon. I know you have to cross the same forked river 2 or 3 times, and that river is pretty infamous that it's the snow melt. It's usually very fast moving. I think we had gone through the river that she had gone down in, and just a couple days after that we read about it. But I don't remember hearing about the male hiker. I'm not sure if he was a section hiker or was maybe way ahead of us or something like that.
It was 2 females.
Was it?
Yeah, it was Tree and it was Strawberry.
Wow. Yeah.
Same situation for both of them.
It's not surprising, honestly, though, especially like I can't imagine being alone in that section of trail.
Yeah.
There were so many times when you needed someone's hand. You were so happy to have people around you.
Yeah. I hate to yada yada, but there's so much trail that I want to talk about that I'm going to do it a little bit. But getting through the Sierra, what is that feeling like? Where you're like, that was terrifying. I'm never backpacking again. Because obviously that was the biggest gap in your resumes between the PCT hikes. I imagine school probably played a role into that. But yeah, I guess what was your feeling once you finished that section?
Yeah. Honestly, the funny thing is I wasn't like scared of that section of trail. Definitely didn't leave me thinking, oh, I'm never doing that again. It was so beautiful, amazing. It slowed us down a lot just because there was so much snow. But I remember we had a really good time. And then you're excited. You finally get out of there and you're moving a lot faster. But it probably wasn't. We only did. I think I got off at Bucks Lake, which is like after South Lake Tahoe before the halfway point. So we had a little bit of mileage that was cruisy, but basically Sierra was like the end of it pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, so you go to, are you cleaning up the miles in 2022 or are you starting from the beginning again?
I planned to just do the whole thing starting at the beginning, but going southbound.
Okay.
So at least I could do the first half I'd never done first. It wound up turning into a flip-flop just because 2022 was like a really high snow year in the north. But I planned to do the whole thing, but at least do the half that I hadn't done.
Yeah. And how'd it play out?
It played out good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the snow was heavy, so I couldn't do a continuous just southbound. I got on a Truckee, which is a little bit south of where I'd gotten off, and just went north, missed the terminus because a fire pretty much broke out like the day we were there. It closed when we were 5 miles out. But amazing, great people. And then we went back and cleaned up a bunch of miles we'd missed for fire. And then went south Truckee all the way to the end and redid the section I'd already done. And I really liked doing it. And there was no snow in the Sierra.
Yeah.
I didn't see any people and there was no snow. And it was like private party the whole time I was there.
Yeah. Did you get all the way to the southern terminus?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of a circuitous path to do the PCT, but it sounds like you were with people. So you started with a group? Like, how did that work out?
I started alone, And then I got injured pretty early on, and that's when I got my trail name, because everyone had like 1,300 miles under their belts, and I was just starting. But I wanted to keep up with everyone, and the days were long. I think the sun was setting at like 9:30. So, of course, I injured myself in the first week.
What was the injury? I mean, obviously.
IT band issues were just like kind of tightened to where I couldn't bend my knee at all anymore. And oddly enough, I was in a McDonald's 3 weeks ago, and a guy in normal clothes walked in, and he was the one who trail named me.
Huh.
Really?
And he was just passing through, what town were we in? Grants or somewhere in New Mexico, and he just walked into this McDonald's, and I was like, you. That was you. And we didn't really hike together. We like met a couple times, and he named me, and then, yeah, we just saw each other.
Wow.
Were you dodging trail names at all in 2017?
Not really, but it was weird. I think sometimes we were all novice hikers. No one had trail names. We all hiked together for so long that after a while, it's just, we never named any of each other.
Mm.
I almost got one or two, but it felt kind of forced. It just didn't click. I was almost Cornflake. I got a huge blistering burn on my neck from, May in the desert. I was like, I can't be Cornflake. It can't be me.
What was the other one?
Something like hot cross buns or something from getting like the grate marks of something all over like the backs of your legs. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
This is an amazing name, but.
It sounds like all of the attempted trail names and the one that stuck were ailments.
Yeah.
Or injuries.
Yeah, right?
That's funny. How long did the IT band issue persist?
It was maybe a couple weeks, but I actually wound up linking up with some other flip-floppers who started the same place. It was a couple. One of them was a little bit injured. So I double zeroed or something in Chester, figured out some stretches. I think I was working with Blaze, who helps out on the PCT.
Yeah. And
once I started doing the stretches and different things, I was able to pretty much keep going and just go slow for a while. And I'm every single hike since then, I have to do these same stretches every single day, like 5 times a day.
Yeah. Do you do any rolling or anything like that?
No,
Yeah.
nothing like that. I love carrying a cork ball and never using it on the whole trail, though.
If somebody else listening to this is also dealing with tight IT issues, is there 1 or 2 stretches in particular that you find to be especially beneficial?
Yeah, and it's like the best injury to have because you can completely fix it and keep it at bay just with stretching. I don't know the names of anything, but every day I do just a stretch like pushing on your knee in a seated position to stretch out your knee. And then at night I do like clamshells and reverse clamshells and like straight leg raises, like 1 set of each.
Yeah.
And very simple.
You have a busy routine between your writing, the videos, your stretching. Like, how do you find time to do 30-mile days?
Yeah, right? I don't know. Yeah. Luckily, the stretching and everything is pretty quick.
Yeah.
3 minutes at the end of the day.
Okay.
And if I don't do it, I can't even hike. So
Yeah, sure.
You have to do it.
It's not an option.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did your gear evolve from 17 and 22?
Oh, to 22. It got better. It definitely got better. I made like a big tent change and a backpack change and got like the core 3 backpack, sleeping bag, and tent down to a reasonable range. I think my base weight in 22 was 19 or 20 pounds.
Okay.
Major improvement.
Yeah.
Not great as much looking at it now, but major improvement definitely for 2017.
Yeah. And what's your base weight now?
I hope maybe 11
Okay.
pounds-ish.
Yeah.
I'm sure right now with all the weird stuff I've been carrying for no reason, it's probably a little higher.
Yeah.
But
What's your current big 3?
I have the Z-Packs Plex Solo, the Jaxer Better Big Meadow quilts,
Okay.
the 0 Degree, and what's the other one? Oh, backpack, the Desert Pack by Palante.
Yeah. I don't hear too many jacks. I mean, I've heard good things about their
Yeah.
products, but you don't hear that cited too often. How do you like it?
I love it, and it's funny. I met them at Trail Days this past year. I didn't realize that they did anything for backpacking besides hammockers, because they always have like the big hammock set up at Trail Days. Just a buddy of mine told me to go talk to them, and because they've been doing quilts for so long, it's the lightest quilt on the market. Like my 20 Degree that I carried for most of the year, 16 ounces. Yeah.
And you said you're carrying a 0 degree now.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of temperatures were you seeing? I know we're jumping all over, but it's relevant. What kind of temperatures were you seeing in the last like quarter, or I guess even half of the CDT?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. We had a few cold nights like right when we were getting into Colorado, and I don't have a liner and I have very little clothing. So the 0 degree, I just, in all my layers and rain gear, I had a couple nights where I was just like, this isn't great.
Yeah.
I'm kind of cold.
Yeah.
A little bit.
When I picked her up today, I was like, we're going to look so silly in the studio photo because I'm dressed like this in full Sherpa.
Summer.
Yeah.
And I was like, and you're wearing short shorts.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, are you cold? She was like, eh.
Yeah. And of course, like, we just finished 2 days ago, though it's just 3-hour ride from the terminus back to town, and we went in groups, so it took 5 hours. And then yesterday we drove all day, so haven't done laundry. So I'm like, I'm not wearing my hiking clothes. I can't wear them. I haven't washed them in 7 days.
Yeah. Is that your hiking puffy though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a pretty lightweight one, or maybe it's just lost a lot of.
Yeah.
insulation
No,
'cause-
it's pretty light, like 4.5 ounces.
Yeah. I guess when you've got a 0 degree quilt, you can get away with lighter stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure we'll come back to gear stuff, but I obviously want to talk about the main events. Your hike last year was insane. So you're the second known woman to hike the Eastern Continental Trail?
Yeah, at least all the way to Newfoundland.
Yeah.
There are definitely more women who've gone to Cape Gaspé.
Okay.
Definitely. Because that was for years, I think that was the terminus. And then, I don't know if it was Nimblewell or someone else, they kind of extended it the 800 miles or so past there.
Got it. And I know the vision for what the hike was last year kind of evolved as the year went on. Tell us about like what your initial vision for this hike was going to be.
Yeah. I finished the PCT in December and was like, okay, I'm going to go home. I still have money and I'm going to do the AT. Perfect. I only have a few months to be home. And then I had a buddy, Jive Turkey, who was on the Pinhoti Trail after the PCT. And he was like, oh, the perfect time window is either right now in the fall or early spring. And it takes 3-4 weeks to do it. I was like, oh, okay. So I could be home for a whole month less. And I'm couching it, you know. So I don't have a car. Less is more for time spent, you know, idling around in other people's lives. So it just seemed perfect. And all I wanted to do was the AT and just connect it to the Pinhoti Trail. And it just, pretty early on, it grew. And I was like, I definitely want to tag the Canadian border. I think that would be really cool. And then it just kept growing. I feel like I kept meeting people and getting more information about like what came after that, being like, oh, that would actually, you could go up into Canada.
Yeah.
Then I don't have to go home after this for a while.
So I'm looking at a map of this, which is interesting to see on a map because the Canada part, it looks on the map at least like you swim from one part to another. Is that a narrow hiking stretch, or is that somewhere that you have to get on a boat of some sort?
Yeah, so that's why for many years Cape Gaspé, which is like the edge of the coastal portion of Quebec, that's where people would end their hikes because that's the end of like a continuous walking only footpath.
Yeah.
But then there are trails across Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland, but you have to ferry between all three of those to get to the land to walk.
That's the 3 dots. So
you
finished here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Quebec. So you finish at the end where there's nothing. Then you actually have to bus all the way back to New Brunswick to like ferry to another place, to another. It was a lot of logistics.
Wow.
So prior to the Eastern Continental Trail, all of your backpacking had been out west. What was your first impression of East backpacking? Yeah,
humid. Definitely. Thank God I grew up on the East Coast, so I definitely knew the summers are going to be super hot. It's going to be muggy, bugs, rain. I know it rains a lot. Luckily, I know we had 2023 was like the heaviest rain year on the AT, I guess, in history, but the whole first half, you would have never known.
Yeah.
I joked about it all the time. I'm like, I bet this is going to be a record year for no rainfall. I think we only had a couple of days where we hiked for a few hours in the rain.
Wow.
And then you got up and further north. I know Vermont was terrible. I can't remember how soon it started, though.
Yeah.
But, yeah, then we got about a year's worth of rain in just a couple weeks.
Yeah. setting out for this hike, did you know that you wanted to write every single day? Was that like an intention that you had set?
No, well, not blog. On the PCT, I hand wrote journaled for the whole trail. I'd just been daily journaling for a while.
Yeah.
But I remember being like double zeroing somewhere on the Pinhoti Trail and seeing a post or something by the trek and just being like, oh, I guess I could email, but I'm already part way into the hike. I wonder if it's too late and I'll have to catch up on a couple weeks of stuff. And I'm so glad that I did. But I'd never blogged online before or anything like that.
Yeah. Was it hard to make the practice of blogging into the hike? Like, I imagine it's got to be easier building that practice before you leave and then trying to keep that momentum. But like starting out not blogging and then adding that into your ritual, is that challenging?
I think it was made easier because I was writing about the day every day no matter what. But there was a bit of a learning curve just with make sure you're taking pictures and remembering where things are and writing down all the little details and stuff. But I was going slower then too. I think it was just the perfect time to kind of jump into something because I took a month to do the Pinhoti Trail. It's only 350 miles long. So that was a slow trail.
Yeah. Were you running into other hikers on the Pinhoti?
Yeah, and I'd heard there was going to be nobody. That's like a really not popular trail. And I hiked alone for a few days, but within a week, I was in a tramily of like 5 hikers.
Really?
Which was so cool. And we all hiked together for pretty much the whole way until you get close to the end. There's like a long road walk, and I got a variation of norovirus caused by food poisoning. And I was down for 4 days. So I lost the tramily, but I was able to see a couple of them one more time. And then I actually saw one of them up in Maine at the end of the AT.
Prior to getting sick, were you trying to coax them into jumping onto the AT with you?
Oh, that would have been so cool. I was with a couple, and they actually were on the CDT this year. But yeah, they had like a pretty strict schedule. But there was one guy who was piecing together the AT, and he was planning to go all the way past Springer. So I was like, oh, that's so cool. We could do all that together, do the Benson MacKaye portion together. But of course, I get sick and then never saw him again.
Yeah. I know in your blogs you often write about trail magic and just like the social aspect of backpacking. What was it like experiencing the AT for the first time? Because I feel like of all the trails, that's the one that offers that the most. Like, Did you feel like a kid in a candy shop hopping on the AT?
It was so much fun. I think I was pleasantly surprised. I always tell people now who don't want to go northbound because they're scared of all the huge bubble. It's not nearly as bad as you might imagine it would be. There's a lot of hikers, but the trail has the capacity for it with the shelters and all the camping and stuff. It's fun in the beginning to see so many people, and I hadn't seen anyone. I mean, the end of the Pinhoti and then the whole Benson MacKaye where you're connecting, I didn't see anybody. So it was fun getting to the AT and you're finally around hikers, and it's a cool trail because so many people who are starting it have never done a trail before, and I think that's a fun group of people to talk to about expectations and thoughts and gear and things.
Yeah. That Benton MacKaye stretch, was that the longest backpacking to date that you had done solo?
Maybe at that point it was.
Yeah.
Probably. I think since then it was probably sections in Florida or the section from Katahdin to Quebec, which I was solo for that, and that was like 300 miles or so.
We've talked about the AT a lot on this podcast. Probably doesn't surprise you. I do want to hear about any standout stories that you've got from the AT, but I think we've got a lot more curiosity about the international portion and then some of the Florida Trail. So what about your AT experience stood out to you?
Well, when you say standout, I don't know why this comes to me, the first thing I think is the first day at Amicalola Falls. When you got to that first shelter, there was a guy with an ice axe. That was just one of my most memorable things. March 31st.
Did you ask what he was bringing it for?
Of course.
And what did he say?
Protection.
Really? Not even price?
And this is truly a brick shit house of a man. He was very tall, could clearly hold his own. And he's like, yeah, it will be great for protection. I'm like, that weighs 2 pounds.
Yeah.
That's not. Maybe some bear mace, a knife.
Yeah.
Yeah. No snow. I never saw snow once on that hike.
If you, Zach, were recommending protection to someone hiking the AT and you had to choose between recommending them a gun or an ice axe for protection, which one would you tell them to bring?
Well,
they want to bring one. It has to be one.
An ice axe isn't illegal to carry for the full length of the trail, so I'd probably go with that, but it's still very ill-advised.
Which one's heavier?
You can find, I'm sure there are lighter guns out there, but yeah. What was he worried about? People, animals?
I don't know. He didn't seem, he was just so big and I was like, how are you scared of anything?
Yeah.
I'm not scared. I have my little pink pepper spray.
Yeah.
But that's like, I think that's the funnest thing about the AT. It's a wild card.
Totally.
People have everything you could ever think of.
Yeah. When I started the AT, this was one of the ones that like pained me to see. Is there was a guy with a backpack that like was one of those big backpacks that you buy for like, let's say you're backpacking across Europe or something, that came with its own day pack for like maybe when you put the big backpack at the hotel, you take the day pack out to sightsee. And he had the day pack stuffed full, clipped to the back of the big pack stuffed full. And we were going up a hill and it was swinging back and forth. And I was like, you are hurting yourself on this climb because it's pulling you back with every step. And like for me to walk behind him for like the short part I was and to not like to keep myself from being like, just if anything, just strap it down. That way it's not swinging. I was like, I don't need to give opinions on this, but
I experienced a similar thing on the PCT. There was a guy, trail named Crazy 72. He was 72 years old, and he had one of those bags that you put kids' soccer balls in, the mesh, strapped to the back, huge, full of all his water and water bottles. So he's like 10 pounds, like flailing in the mesh strapped to the bag, and you'd come up on him, he'd be going the opposite way, he'd like get turned around, and but he did the whole trail.
Yeah. It looks like the version of norovirus that you got put you in the hospital. Yeah, Strapto.
Yeah.
Did that put you in the hospital?
Well, I went on like day 3 or 4. I went to the hospital because I hadn't been able to keep down food. I was like, this is not noro.
Yeah.
Noro does not. I'm thinking Lyme disease, and I've had Lyme before.
Oh, wow.
So when I told them, they're like, it's actually really common that if you've had it repeatedly, that it can give you like gastro symptoms or things. So of course they put me on antibiotics, which caused like a really weird photosensitivity reaction, and like my nails turned black.
Whoa.
Yeah. Wow. And hurt, and and then they called me and were like, you don't have Lyme. Like, perfect.
Yeah. Thank God we put you on this really intense antibiotic that turned your nails black.
Thank God.
Yeah. So how long were you in the hospital for?
I only went in for the day just to get like blood work and stuff done, but I was in town for like 4 days, and then I assumed it was Lyme because they gave me antibiotics, and the next morning I hiked out. I felt fantastic. So maybe it just killed something else unrelated, because the day after the hospital, I did a like 30-mile day or something.
Yeah.
When your fingernails are turning black, like when my toenails turn purple when I'm hiking, that's usually step 1 of them falling off. Yeah. Did you lose fingernails?
I didn't lose them, but they did that thing where like if you hit your nail and you think you're going to lose it, like it slowly creeps, the nail gets ridged and weird, and then eventually just the nail grew to where you couldn't see it anymore. But it like didn't, my skin kind of burned or tingled, like it felt like it was snowing and dropping onto my hands when I would walk in the cold mornings. I don't know what like nerve damage? I don't know what it did to me.
Are your fingers, let me see your hands.
Totally
they look normal now?
Normal.
Oh yeah, you'd never know.
No, I don't know. Yeah.
Cool.
Finger cancer later in life, but
finger cancer. You have the best titles on your blog posts. You've got one here from your early AT stretch. Don't climb mountains and drink tequila.
Oh my God. I can't, I wish I could remember. Couldn't tell you what that day was.
I think the gist was just that somebody had whipped out a couple of nips of tequila.
Oh yes. Yeah. I try to keep them spicy, but you should never do that.
Yeah.
It sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of fun.
Well, and then the very next post is hikers drunk off of trail magic Easter beers.
Oh yeah. That was amazing. That section of the early days on the AT, like March or April, whenever you start, every road there's trail magic. Yeah. Everyone's drinking and partying, and even if you only want to dabble a little bit, it's so much fun to be around. We definitely we eventually put our heads down a little bit more, but in the first month and a half was killer.
Yeah. Did you ever experience trail magic like that on the PCT?
Yeah. Nothing is jumping out at me. It's definitely not the same where you can expect it at every road.
Yeah.
But I certainly got some really good trail magic out there.
Yeah. All right. Again, I don't want to yada yada the AT. So if there's any other stories that we have to share on it, please let me know.
Nothing's jumping out at me. There's so much good stuff. I feel like one of the coolest things is the guy who I wound up hiking with on the International Appalachian Trail for like 1,200 miles. We met in Vermont, and he stopped me because he saw the Pinhoti tag, and he just assumed I was doing the ECT. And he was the first person I ever got to talk to who knew anything about the IAT. And he was like, oh, you're right on time, like, for the hunting season. If you just keep at this pace, like, this, that, and the other thing, and you can go through Canada. And I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be on time for the hunting season? Like, you're on time in terms of, like, the hunters are no longer out there and you're not going to be a target accidentally, or you're right on time to get there with the hunters?
Before the hunters. Which, of course, when I did get there, we got there the day the hunting season started, which it's information online kind of led us to believe you can't hike during hunting season, which you totally can. It's just hours are... You can only hike between like 9 and 4, and you can never walk on roads. Kind of weird stuff, but when you're reading online and everything's in French, it sounded like they closed. Like it said, like, closed for the season when hunting starts. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, Quebec's like 400 miles long. I have to get through the whole province of Quebec by September 7th or whatever it was. And that's the deadline I just didn't think I was, the whole time thought I was behind for until I met this guy trucker in Vermont. I'm like, oh, cool.
Do you know why you can't walk on roads?
Yeah, I guess it was something that rangers told us. I think because the hunters are like driving on the roads, and in Canada you can hunt off roads. So they're literally because it's easy. I mean, they're hunting moose most of the time. And I think they're such big animals that if you're not hunting them off the road, you can't take them. So they're probably scared if you're walking on the road, you're just endangering yourself because the hikers aren't using the trails.
Right. Interesting.
So at the point that you learn about the International Appalachian Trail, how long does it take for that idea to sink in and be like, this is something I'm going to do?
So fast. Like, I think part of me had thought about it the whole time. It just didn't seem practical, and literally all the information's in French. And so not that many people have done it. So it just seemed difficult to figure out, and permits. And then as soon as I talked to that guy, I'm like, oh, we're going to Canada for sure.
Yeah. What sort of intel had you gotten about it? Because even having sat down and done now 283 episodes of this podcast, I still vaguely have an idea of what the IAT is. And all the backpacking that you'd done prior to that was more traditional, like PCT, Pinhoti. Charting into more like going into more uncharted waters, was that intimidating at all?
Yeah, I was nervous about mostly just permits, hunting stuff, making sure you're allowed to be there, and then getting out in time, and the language barrier. Like the thought of being in Quebec and nobody speaks English, I was like, this could be hard. And I was assuming I'm going to be alone all of Canada. Yeah. Which I think is like it's healthy to expect you're not going to be with anyone, because if you're alone and you're expecting people, then you might be bummed out.
Yeah. So walk me through what happens after you get to Katahdin. Like what's the process of getting from Katahdin to the Canadian border?
Yeah. So the trail would descend you down, what is it, Knife's Edge? Mm-hmm. And then you're on trail for a little bit, and you get basically to like a parking area, and then there's no trail. It's a bit of like a bushwhack to get back to this other Jeep track or something, and just eventually you wind up on a dirt road that says International Appalachian Trail start, and then you're on dirt roads for a really long time. I can't remember like how much it is connecting the two. It's not that crazy much. Yeah, and then it's pretty much as soon as you get off Katahdin, it is flat. All of Canada except for Quebec.
Is that a weird feeling going from like a really popular, very well marked trail to then all of a sudden like you're just kind of on your own in a flat area with like on a Jeep trail? Like that's got to be a weird dichotomy, right?
Yeah, and like I'd been with a tramley the entire AT, pretty much the entire trail. So then all of a sudden you're just, oh, I'm alone now and there's no hikers out here. It's kind of exciting though. It just started like a whole new chapter, and I was just talking about this with the girl I was hiking with on this last trail. Like, there's magic to being alone when you're hiking. I think the way people treat you is really different, and I've gotten some of, like, the best trail magic and just unique human experiences when I'm by myself.
Yeah.
Did it feel demoralizing at all to have gone from hiking with people to being alone, like that transition? Because when I got off the AT, my mind was like, oh, I'll finish the Colorado Trail right now. Perfect time to get this last 100 miles done. And I went on the CT for one night. And by the second day, I was like, I'm getting off. And in my mind, I thought, I'll do this so fast because I'm in shape. And just I think it was like the transition of seeing people on trail every day, all day, to just no one was something where it was like, this doesn't feel like fun right now. How was it hard getting between that gap of adjusting to being just you again?
Yeah, and I can totally see that. People asked me that a lot last year because they said the AT for me, like, I don't think I could have done it if it wasn't for all the people. Mm-hmm. Like, imagining doing the whole thing alone. I feel like the key is just knowing what you're getting yourself into. Like, 100% expecting I'm going to be alone. Mm-hmm. And then I had weeks leading up to getting to the international where I'm thinking, it'll just be me. But, like, spinning it positively, like, well, like, remember yesterday when, like, the guys packed up slow and you wanted to go further or, like, you wanted to in and out town. Like, I was excited for the freedom of just doing my own thing and just kind of spun it to where it's like, this is going to be different and lonely, but it's going to be really cool in its own way. And then I feel like it's trail. So if you're thinking like that, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a FarOut map for the IAT?
There is now.
Okay. But when you did it, was there?
There was for some of it.
Okay.
By, I want to say June of last year, they had Maine, New Brunswick, Quebec, maybe Prince Edward Island. And then slowly as the year went on, they got the last couple provinces. When we did Newfoundland, we'd used Gaia. And then 2 weeks later, Lil Buddha had tracked it for FarOut, and they had maps then.
Got it. So, was the FarOut intel accurate from like a town resupply standpoint?
Yeah, I would say there just weren't a lot of comments.
Yeah.
Very few. Like it was all comments from years ago.
Yeah.
Which was cool because I mean, there's so many legends who've gone and done that section of the trail, and you're looking at like this guy Masochist, Jupiter, and I know a bunch of people like that. It's just cool to see. Yeah.
And when you're relying on Gaia, are you just simply looking at what road crossings are getting you near town, and then just like or is there other intel that you're relying on in terms of resupply and logistics?
Yeah, the Gaia GPX we were using was pretty good. It was like a full line like FarOut, and most of the international in Newfoundland brings you right through a town. It's like all ATV track dirt road, and then you'll get onto paved road, go literally right through a community, and then pop out or right by a gas station or convenience store. It was all really easy to use, and the only times we didn't use it is if you're using Google Maps. You're like, I don't know why it's taking us out and around, and there's a different road that saves 30 miles.
Yeah.
We're already road walking.
Yeah. What are the vibes of the towns like on the international?
They're so cute. Like, East Coast seafood ocean community vibe.
Yeah.
You're on the coast pretty much the entire time. Teeny little towns, so many old people. It's just like all super old people, the nicest people you've ever met. And even though no one really knew what we were doing, they were so nice to us everywhere you went.
And everyone speaking French?
Only French in Quebec.
Okay.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
So, and when we were in Quebec, everything's in French.
Yeah.
All the signs, all the menus, everything.
do most people, or at least enough people, speak English so that you can communicate?
Yeah, I only had it happen a couple times where you call to make a reservation and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, like English? And they're like, no.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure they speak English. They
Yeah.
just hate you.
Yeah.
But most of the time, if you did a little horrible French accent thing, they would be like, okay, I do speak English. You gave it a shot.
Yeah, right.
We were talking about on the drive over here how she's from Massachusetts and I'm from New York, and it's kind of close to Quebec-ish.
Yeah.
And so for school in high school, we had the choice between taking Spanish and taking French. And if you took Spanish, this was because they were trying to incentivize people to take French. But if you took Spanish after 10th grade, you got to take a half day at school and go to a Mexican restaurant, and like it was fun. If you took French, you got to go on a 4-day trip to Quebec. So I was like, yeah, I'll take French. And we went to Quebec, and they had pins for us that said, speak French to me.
Oh.
That, like, the student, like, we would wear as students around because we were there for a French trip. And so many people were just only speaking English to us. So they were definitely lying to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit because I missed this in the blog previously, but you ran into the southbound hiker that was backpacking with her cat.
On the Colorado Trail?
No, I'm seeing this from the AT.
Oh, yes. Sorry, there's a cat on every trail.
There
Apparently.
is a cat on every trail. There was a cat on the PCT that year, too.
Mazama or
what
something.
was his name?
Trailbait, I know was the...
Trailbait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met that cat.
I did, too. I wonder what Trailbait's doing right now.
Trailbait's not doing good.
No?
Trailbait meant missing.
No!
Yeah, she lost that cat.
Oh, my God.
I know, that's a horrible tangent, but
Ooh.
I do recall...
I'm so sad.
From, like, it just probably ran off and...
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's dark. But I did meet the other cat. Ghost and Spook. Couldn't tell you which one the human was.
Casper and Spook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah,
Pretty close.
that is good.
Yeah, she was so adorable, and it was funny because she started the AT super late and got the cat because she was lonely.
Aww.
There was no hikers on the trail.
Yeah.
Like there's other things you could probably do, but you're making friends once you get the cat.
Yeah.
There's not a chance you're not. Like, we talked to that girl for a while.
That was like the girl that hiked with the goat. I was like, I need to be around you at all times.
Oh my gosh.
Perfect.
Remember
cat.
we met her at AT Days?
That's so cool.
Did she have the goat with her? Why don't I remember this?
We put gooders on the goat.
Oh,
we
yeah.
literally made that a
Okay.
post.
Yeah. I remember that now. And then shortly before running into the hiker with the cat, you ran into a Canadian lynx.
Oh, yeah. In the 100-mile wilderness.
Wow.
That was so cool. That was probably one of the best animal encounters I've ever had because it was on the trail. Of course, headphones in, I'm fucking around on my phone, and I just hear this huge thud, and it saw me, and I was about to probably step on it, and it was huge.
How
and
big?
it just, like, jumped up and smacked its feet against the ground and, like, hopped off the trail. Like, large dog. I was hiking with a husky, and it was way bigger than her.
Whoa. I didn't realize lynxes. I thought they were like bobcat size.
I thought
They're
so,
like
too.
big bobcat.
Yeah.
I remember just thinking, like, wow, that is large. And it didn't leave. It hopped right off the trail and then just, like, stared at me. And no, I'm like, guys, where are you? Like, of course you're not here. And I got to watch it walk off. That was so cool.
That's awesome.
If it's bigger than a husky, which is mind-blowing, is it the same as when you encounter a mountain lion? Like, same type of vibe where you're like, oh, fuck, this thing might attack me and scrape me all up to pieces? Or are lynxes more docile, friendly cats?
Closer to bobcat. Like, I was kind of nervous because I was shocked how big it was. It was bigger than I thought it would be. But I definitely wasn't scared it was going to attack me. It just clearly it let you know really quick, I'm not afraid of you. I'm getting off the trail as a courtesy, but I'm going to walk slowly off into the woods. I don't care that you're here. You're just in my way.
Speaking of unique animal and wildlife encounters, you also ran into a caribou?
Yeah. One caribou, I think it was in Quebec, and that was like one of our biggest goals for Canada. It's like you were hitting the migration season like pretty perfect that we knew we could see them. And we just saw one lone little caribou on this like misty mountaintop. And that was so cool.
What's the difference between a caribou and an elk? Are they bigger? Or are they just like, is it like a buffalo and a bison where it's the same thing, different name?
I feel like buffalo and bison, like they're way bigger than deer, but elk are really big too. They're just fuzzy. They kind of look more like reindeer than they look like elk, but it's pretty similar. I have no idea what the actual difference is.
Yeah, I have
What
no
color
idea.
are they? Are they
Brownish. It was kind of fuzzy looking. Like you could see that they'd blend in pretty well with snow, I think.
Huh.
I had one good picture that trucker took that I posted in my blog. I didn't get, of course, any good pictures of the caribou.
Caribou have broader. Apparently, caribou are closer to like reindeer.
Reindeer aren't real.
Yeah, they are.
That's like another word for caribou.
No.
Like an actual.
Wait, are you saying that reindeer aren't real? Is that your claim right now?
Wait, they are real.
I like how confidently you said that reindeer aren't real. The ones that fly aren't real. That's not a real thing. But reindeer are very real.
Yeah, they don't fly, but they are alive. They do
I
exist.
thought the ones that don't fly are just caribou.
Okay, so there's only 9 that fly. Dixon, Vixen.
I know
Daughter.
that, but I thought that if they're not flying ones, they're just
No.
caribou.
If they're not flying ones, there's not flying ones.
I know there's not flying ones. That's what I'm telling you guys.
Right, just knee jerk. No, reindeer aren't real.
Well, they can't be like that. 'Cause those didn't
I thought
exist.
they weren't real. Well, actually, they've got really big horns. I thought this was a caribou.
Yeah.
A reindeer or a caribou? No, I'm not wrong here. Wikipedia says the reindeer or caribou. So that's the bison buffalo. It's just another word for a caribou. It's not.
Are you spinning that into saying that reindeer aren't real?
I don't think they are.
They're interchangeable.
Caribou
maybe.
are real. Reindeer are not.
Yeah. Okay. Broader hooves and antlers that are more complex and carried by both males and females. Caribou are adapted to cold climates and are found in Arctic and subarctic regions. Caribou migrate long distances seasonally. Caribou graze on lichens, grass, vegetation, blah, 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 blah.
They're cool animals.
Yeah.
I read a book about them before that, and they're interesting.
Yeah.
Their like migration is like the same every year, and yeah,
Huh.
it's pretty neat.
Tell me about the terrain of the International AT.
Yeah. Well, if you weren't on road, so much of it was road. Dirt road, ATV track, pretty flat, going through the woods. And then Quebec is like an outlier. It's unlike any of the other provinces, which are mostly dirt road or ATV or paved road. But Quebec was kind of like out high, alpine. I can't think of the word. I want to say Arctic, but it's tundra.
Mm-hmm.
Like a tundra environment, kind of similar to like portions of Colorado, honestly, with like the type of plant life and stuff. But that, like, Quebec was rugged, like rocky. Literally, there's portions of the trail where you hit a cliff and there's a rope and you legitimately belay down the rope because it's just like 10 feet of rock face. And that's only for a couple 100 miles through some like the national park area.
Yeah.
But like rugged, I've never hiked slower anywhere besides the Whites or like the Wind River High Route.
Is it comparable to the Whites in terms of how many miles you're covering a day? Yeah.
Like so slow, a mile an hour. And I remember like my friends were in front of me and I was so disheartened trying to catch them. And they were like, it's actually about to get worse. You're about to slow down even more. I'm like, I'm going 1.5 miles an hour.
Wow.
How could this get worse?
Is using a rope and belaying, is that exciting, scary, both?
It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Just especially when you're wanting to be fast and there's just nothing you can do. It's rocky, you're losing the trail, it's all this. So like some sections of it, you're going by this like waterfall area and there was tons of ropes and like dirt washed out chutes and you're literally just going down slowly. It was pretty fun. I was low on food at the time, so I didn't love going slow, but a random man gave me food in that section, so it was all fine. Yeah.
Is the trail not very well marked in that section, or is it just because of the terrain that it's just harder to mark?
Yeah, it's like the IAT is pretty well marked the whole way through. Yeah, it was just really slow going, like super washed out, so steep. Like you would never climb anything that steep on the AT. If you were climbing that steep, it'd be boulder scramble, rock steps. Like you were climbing dirt chutes so steep sometimes you're like, it couldn't be any steeper and I could not be walking up it if it was any steeper. Muddy, yeah.
since we're close to the holiday season,
Yeah.
I have a few caribou reindeer facts that I'm just going to say real quick. Apparently, reindeer and caribou are the same species, but they have different names depending on their location and domestication status. So reindeer is the name they use in Eurasia, and for domesticated or semi-domesticated reindeer, which I'll come back to, caribou is the name in North America and for wild reindeer, aka basically in North America it says if the animal is wild, it's called a caribou, but if it's domesticated, it's called a reindeer. Also, they're polygamous, and the males defend up to 10 females.
Wow.
And their calves. So.
And they bear all of the young in the same 3-week period, so they can like group protect them all, and the babies can walk like almost immediately long distances, which is so cool.
Love all the reindeer fun facts we're getting here.
Hey, tis the holiday season. Look how many different kinds there are.
Oh wow. I love that you basically figured out reindeer actually don't exist.
They
it's
exist
just a
in
cute
Asia.
name.
In Eurasia, they do. And if you can catch a caribou in North America and domesticate it, then you have made a reindeer.
That's not a crime.
That I don't know.
feels illegal.
That I don't know.
I love that clause. If you can catch it and domesticate it, then it's a reindeer. You can keep it.
Santa's entire operation was
well, they're domesticated. That's why Santa doesn't have flying caribou.
Yeah. So are you doing the IAT with a hiking partner?
Originally, no. I did. You hit Katahdin, and then it's like 100 and something miles through Maine and 100 and something miles through New Brunswick, and I did all of that alone. Didn't know anyone was out there till I hit the first trail register and realized there was a guy 6 days ahead of me. So I'm like, cool, never going to catch him. That is an impossible distance to bridge. Yeah. And then Lil Buddha and Out and About, 2 other hikers, were like 2 weeks ahead of me. And one day I'm sitting outside of a gas station on Wi-Fi, and I get an Instagram audio call from a random person, and it was apparently a hiker south of me who was just about to finish at Katahdin, and she got me in touch with the guy ahead of me who I'd actually met and didn't realize, and we all wound up linking up. He waited for me, and then we waited for her, and I took 7 zeros, and he took 14.
Wow.
And we all caught up. Yeah, I think the Sparkle, who I actually just finished the CDT with, that's who I was up in Canada with.
Yeah.
And she had a hard time on the AT. It was so rainy. She didn't know at the time, but she had broken her wrist. She had chipped a bone in her knee, really struggling. And this guy was like, catch up, dude. Just catch up. We'll all hike together. Yeah. And it was really fun after that. I think it made it much easier to navigate everything being with some people.
Sure. What was it like taking a week off in Canada?
It was honestly amazing. Yeah. Because Trucker, I didn't know him very well, but he was like, I'm staying for a week. You're welcome to stay. So I was like, that's amazing. I haven't rested at all in so long. I hadn't taken a zero in probably almost a month. And I was thinking, because the hunting season, I can't rest until after Quebec. And he had called and gotten more information, and we basically realized we were fine. And it was amazing. We just sat and watched movies and ate food and did nothing. Yeah.
So remind me, what's the caveat with the hunting season? You can only hike for certain hours out of the day?
Yeah, but they made it sound, because of the language barrier, they used the word closed. But I think restricted was what the word would have translated better to. Uh-huh. So we were kind of led to believe like the park closes at this date. And then when we finally spoke to someone who spoke like a slightly better English, they were like, it's restricted. And then we were able, what does that mean? Oh, okay. You can hike every single day. You just can't ever touch a road, and you can't be hiking like dusk and dawn, basically.
Yeah. Are you wearing orange or anything?
Yes. Yeah. They made me buy a Maton Reserve orange vest that weighed probably 2 pounds. Had 6 giant pockets on it. It was huge, ridiculous, but it was kind of amazing because then I had so many pockets, and I had stuff just everywhere.
Just a beer in every pocket?
Yeah, chocolate milk.
Yeah.
Chocolate milk in every pocket.
What's your go-to, speaking of food, when you're in town? What's the thing that you're craving the most?
If I could have anything?
Yeah, I guess, over the last 2 years, the thing that you've had the most often.
Ooh, had the most often. It's always American food and burgers. and gas station food, but I want variety.
Yeah, sure.
I want hibachi. That's been my CDT
Hibachi.
obsession. I'm like, oh, I want hibachi.
How often are you able to make that happen?
Never.
Yeah.
Like once or twice, at least twice this year. So rarely.
Remind me when we leave here for when I take you downtown to tell you where to get hibachi. There's a food truck.
Oh.
It's the freaking best.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, you can never get it.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Are you stoked to be back in civilization now?
Yeah, I am. The food, the ease. I was telling you in the car ride, like, we got into the hotel last night after midnight, and the GPS originally said 8 p.m. So pretty big gap in time. And I was thinking, well, okay, can't get dinner or anything, but we're in Denver area, so got like Thai food delivered to the room at 1 a.m. last
yeah.
night. I'm like, we are not in New Mexico
Yeah.
anymore, or Wyoming.
Yeah. I'm glad that you were within DoorDash distance of Denver because Golden sucks for late night.
Really?
There's no food options. Maybe some gas station stuff, but
Nice.
otherwise there's nothing.
There was so much. I was very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. All right, we're jumping timescales a lot here. What else? I'm so intrigued by the International Appalachian Trail. Tell me about the island hopping portion of this.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, I've ridden on ferries before, but there was one section on the trail where you have to take a ferry across a pond, and it's like not a province. Like you just hit a body of water, and it's a 24-hour community ferry that can take cars one car at a time. And it took like 2 minutes just to go across this little waterway. That was so cute. But it was fun taking the boat, and we took a bunch of buses. And then to get to Newfoundland, they only do 2 ferries a day, an all-day ferry or an overnight ferry. So we took the midnight to 7 a.m. ferry from Nova Scotia to Newfoundland, and it was like way nicer than any flight you could ever be on. Like you could have just probably laid on the ground and inflated your pad, but really nice chairs and restaurants, and yeah, it was pretty fun traveling around.
Has anyone told you about the international trail or the International Appalachian Trail that extends to Ireland?
Yeah, I have been trolled by people who have been like, when are you going to finish the International Appalachian Trail? I'm like, dude, like I don't think it's fully done up through there. I can't tell you. Maybe one day I'll do it.
There is a piece on the Trek about it. I should refresh my memory, but yeah.
It's like going through Scotland and stuff.
Yeah. It is wild that it extends that far.
Across the ocean. Yeah, that'll be quick. Let me just get over there.
Yeah. So, how does the vibe of the hike change once you go from solo to now you're in a group?
It was cool. It was just fun having each other, and like Sparkle and I feel like we all hiked really similar pace, but it was cool to be with a girl. Like I hadn't hiked with a girl for more than 100 miles the whole AT. My family was 2 guys and a female dog. And yeah, it was fun. It was easier. And we were with an Army guy who loves planning and logistics. And we told him, I'm like, oh, I don't think we're going to do Newfoundland. Like neither of us are really in a position time-wise and stuff. And he's like, dude, I will plan everything. I will figure out everything. Just keep hiking.
Yeah.
Don't like you. And then I think he was the one who found out that no female had ever finished up in Newfoundland. And he like held on to that to be like, guys, maybe you keep going. Like Sparkle, you'll be the first woman. Now you won't quit. And he knew what he was doing because there was no stopping after that. Like obviously we have to go the whole way.
Yeah. Somebody listening to this that's curious, is it worth doing that last section?
Yeah. I think if you're going to do any parts up through Canada, like Quebec and stuff, I mean, it is 800 miles of road-ish, but it's the prettiest road walking you'll ever do. You're on the ocean most of the time. As long as the weather's not bad, we finished right around Halloween. So like on the ocean, coastal winds, freezing rain, it was very uncomfortable. Yeah. But if you hit the weather window well, like you're in town all the time and it's adorable, and Newfoundland is cool. There's a lot of really amazing stuff to do out there.
Yeah. What's the camping like?
Side of the road, or like when you were on ATV track, it was similar to like the CDT where you just go off in like the brush off a road. But luckily with 3 of us, if we did like 30 to 35 miles a day, many times you could end at a motel, a little tiny motel that maybe had a cafe or had nothing, just in the middle of nowhere. So with the weather being so bad, we aimed for that a lot. Like, I think we had to have been staying somewhere half the time every week.
Yeah.
For sure. But it was so uncomfortable. You'd walk. It's like, okay, well, you just spent the whole day walking in freezing rain.
Yeah.
We're getting inside.
Yeah. Okay, so the original version of this plan was Bama to Baxter.
Yeah.
Yeah, then the international AT. At what point does coming back and doing the Florida Trail enter the equation?
Actually, before. Like, I thought I wanted to just end at Canada and then flip down and do Alabama to Key West and do, like, the U.S. ECT. So that was always in my mind because I'm like, that's the perfect weather window, November, December, for the Florida Trail. And then just somehow we stayed pretty well on schedule to keep that going when I finished up in Canada.
Yeah. Okay, so walk me through the logistics. You reach the northern terminus of the international AT. How long does it take to even get back down south?
Yeah, not too bad. We wound up flying out of Halifax, which is in Nova Scotia. I think, like, we finished and we were, like, in a hotel that night at the airport. Flew to Birmingham, and then I had the time. I'm like, I'm taking 2 or 3 days in this random town by the airport, chilling. And then just after Halloween, I got, like, picked up by the people at the Pinhoti Outdoor Center and got on trail. And my friend who had actually just finished the CDT was planning on going out to do the Florida Trail, so we met up on the Pinhoti together to go south as far as we could together.
Yeah. And when you're taking a couple 0 days, are you literally just laying in a bed for 2 days straight?
Yeah, that was one of the best zeros ever. Like, I was walking distance from a Walmart, nice hotel, lots of food. I got, like, a heating pad and, like, was laying on it all day. Because I'd gotten very injured on the International Appalachian Trail and hiked probably 1,200 miles of it, or 1,000 miles of it, quite injured. So it was really nice to try to take a couple days and heal.
What was the injury?
I tore a muscle in my calf.
Whoa.
Yeah, not a full tear, because you'd have to do surgery to fix a full tear. But it was quite torn.
Yeah, how are you managing that?
It was horrible, actually. The whole thing bruised. It happened, like, really close to finishing Quebec. And then I was compression wrapping it for 12 weeks. That's how long it took to have it not be, like, constant pain all day walking on it.
So 12 weeks is well past, obviously, even the Florida Trail, right? That's
12 weeks, and I want to say a huge amount of that was all of Canada.
Okay.
Like, all of Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland, it was injured.
Yeah.
So I think I did all of the Alabama road walk and got on the Florida Trail, and that's the first time I was able to take the compression wrap off.
Got it.
Thank God.
I guess just quickly, because we didn't cover this, how long is the Canadian portion of the IAT, and how long did it take you?
I'm pretty sure 1,500 miles, and I want to say it took, like, 2 months. I finished August 12th, a little over 2 months. August 12th at Katahdin, and, like, just around Halloween we were flying back.
Yeah.
Those are big months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 30 to 35 miles a day for the majority of the International Appalachian Trail.
And you're doing this into Halloween, so pretty short days, relatively speaking.
Yeah, it was dark. You're on the road. The 2 people I was with, obviously, they were so ready to be done. Like, they had started in Key West. So they didn't want to slow down or anything. They just wanted to get out of there.
Yeah.
When does the elevation start to be more accommodating to 30s and 35s? Because going through New Hampshire and Maine, like, I went from doing 20, 25, whatever, to, like, dying on a 13-mile day.
Yeah. That was the hardest thing, finishing up in Maine. We were going so slow. And it was pretty disheartening to go that slow after you've been on trail for so long. But, I mean, other than Quebec, you go through Gaspé National Park and the Baton Reserve. Those are logistically hard, but other than that, it's flat. Flat for all of Canada. So besides, like, how hard road can be sometimes on your body, it was not too difficult time-wise to do 30s every day.
Yeah. Is there any part of you that wants to be done when you get back down to Alabama? I've been back. So when did you start the Pinhoti, and then what you said you finished around Halloween? What timeline are we looking at?
Yeah.
Here?
February 28th or something I started in Alabama.
Okay.
So we were in deep. It was, what is that, 8 months?
Yeah.
And then I took it was end of October. It took all of November, December to finish in Florida.
Are you feeling burnt out at any point?
Yeah, it was honestly hard finishing the AT because everyone is so excited to be done.
Yeah.
Every break you're at with hikers at a shelter, they're like, thank God it's over. Oh my God, I couldn't do another day. Even at like Katahdin, people were saying that, and I was like, I have a lot left.
You're not even halfway done.
No.
At that point. Yeah.
And then in Canada, they just talked about how horrible Florida was the whole time. The entire time. And like Sparkle, the girl I was with, hates water. And oh my God, I'm like, can you stop?
Yeah.
I have to go back and do all of that. And all you've talked about is how it's the worst.
Yeah, right. Did she stop?
No. But I think there's something good about having expectations like that. Like, it's going to suck.
Yeah.
It's going to be nasty and buggy and wet. And then you get down there, it's never as bad as you think it's going to be.
Yeah. I'm sure having such low expectations was helpful.
Yeah.
If you go into it expecting like a Floridian vacation, it's probably going to be below that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so how long is the road walk through Alabama to the Florida Trail?
250 or something like that.
Damn.
Yeah, it is long.
Yeah.
And you go through Montgomery, which is the capital, so you're going through bad neighborhoods. And that's all Gaia GPX file. And the funny thing is there's notes on it that say, we are suggesting this route. Be careful deterring or getting off of this route because you went through like clearly like, I wouldn't say the projects, but like low income, subsidized housing communities. Like you can, you never hike through areas like that.
Yeah.
So it became very evident walking and going further and further from normally an Alabama road walk, it's rural communities, pine forest road walks. Then you pop by the one little gas station, or you sleep at the cemetery or the church, and then you're in the city, which is really nice city, like gorgeous historic city. And you get further and further out of the city, and then you're like, oh, this is actually kind of a bad neighborhood. Oh, it's 7:00 at night, which means we're going to be hiking through a bad neighborhood at night?
Yeah.
And then we can't camp anywhere. You can't stealth camp. So you kind of just had to get as far out of the city as you could to where it's like, there's probably no transient homeless people walking 5 miles to get out of this city.
So that was your goal, is just to get far enough outside of any sort of civilization?
Yeah. Unless you were like, we slept at pretty much churches every single night. But yeah, you just wanted to be not. Only really around Montgomery is it that you're in a city type area.
Yeah. Did you have any dicey encounters going through that stretch?
No, everyone was actually really funny. Like, people saw us and they were not like making fun of us, but they were talking to us. Like, I don't know, if you're in Alabama, I don't know if you've ever hiked before, backpacked or anything, like in a like kind of inner city area.
Yeah.
But people would see us and they were asking us what we were doing. They're like, oh, I want to follow you guys around. I'm like, dude, like, we're walking to Key West, man.
Yeah.
And when you would tell people, especially around there where they don't know there's trail systems, they're like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Where are you coming from? What have you done?
Yeah. So 250 miles, it sounds like you've been doing a lot of, like, even with the international AT, a lot of road walking at that point. Do you ever adjust to road walking physically? Because I feel like anytime I do long stretches on flat terrain, that's what beats me up the most. I would rather have mountains.
Yeah.
Do you adjust to that?
I think you get better. Like, definitely the feeling in your feet goes away. I do feel like the road walking is what caused my calf injury. Just going from like the steepest stuff in Quebec to complete flat, I feel like that probably played a role.
Did you switch your footwear at all to something like with a higher midsole?
No. I kept the same thing the whole time.
Were you in topos?
Yeah, and you get used to it, but roads just hard on your body. Like when you're hitting like 25 or more miles a day, like you're gonna be sore.
Yeah.
The last few hours of the day.
Pursuits, Ultra Ventures, I forget.
Terraventure. But I tried the Pursuits earlier this year.
Yeah.
And I really liked them, the zero drop.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
So a lot of road walking. We get to Florida, and then obviously that's where the mountains start.
Yeah, that's when things that you are going to pop off. No more road walking once you get there.
Did it improve when you got to Florida?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I think everyone talks a big game about the Florida Trail being all road walk. There's very little long continuous stretches of road walk on the Florida Trail.
Sure, especially compared to what you had just done. You definitely lowered the bar for yourself in that standpoint.
Yeah.
So I guess give me some of your highlights of the Florida Trail.
Constant food. You can almost hit something every day. Like, really, the longest stretches you're going are 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Probably less.
Did you get any fried gator?
No, but I've had alligator before, but not when I was down there.
Okay.
So much fried chicken, almost all fried chicken. And just, horrible gas station resupplies.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was just nice to not... You can be on your phone all day. You have service all day. Road walking kind of sucks, but it's mindless. Mm-hmm. And after you've been walking all year, that's kind of all you want.
Yeah.
I am a notorious I won't do the Florida Trail type of girl because alligators, swamps, just everything about it kind of seems meh. And you're saying it's very fun, which is great to hear, but it's so funny with you saying this and me reading the show notes because the bullet points of the Florida Trail just read like it's just, you were followed on the Florida Trail?
Yeah. That was
Let's start there.
Yeah. Well, that was close to the end of the trail. The funny thing is Florida has like more, dare I say, more trail community proportionally than the AT. If you either meet people who know nothing that the trail's there or they love the trail, would do anything to help you. And I'd never experienced really before so many people stopping me who'd read the blog. Like, it was a weekly occurrence that someone would stop me who recognized me from the blog in Florida.
Was that only on the Florida Trail? Did you get that on the AT?
A teeny tiny bit on the AT, but it was mostly like trail angel type people or people who you'd expect were reading. Yeah. But in Florida, it was like literally random people would drive down the road and be like, peg leg? And I'm like, what? Like, this is weird.
Does the Trek have a Florida presence that we don't know about?
Yeah, I think it's just a population 100%. Game. Yeah. I guess that's news to me also.
Yeah, they're reading. They love the trail community. But so I'd had like this day where this person followed me. Nothing like that's ever happened before. But a guy stopped me. People stopped you all the time. Immediately I'm like, you're weird. Weird vibe, weird questions. Blew him off, kept walking.
What kind of questions?
Didn't know what I was doing. He's like, oh, you're famous. What is that? Like, what are you doing? And it was just odd. His vibe was just weird. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. And normally it's like, you're alone. I love talking to some random person on the road. And then he drove away. And then oddly, like 5 minutes later, a dude drove by and was like, this is going to creep you out. I'm so sorry, but like peg leg. Like, and we talked and he was so nice and so normal. And he'd been reading all year and we talked for like 30 minutes. He actually wound up trail magicking me the next day. All this time passed though. I finished this road walk and get into the woods. And I'm like a mile into this wooded section off the road. And then there's a dude waving at me in the woods, like ecstatic to see me. And I'm thinking, okay, like, who is this? Logically, there must be some person I saw or something. And I get closer and I'm like, holy shit, this is the friggin' weird guy that drove by me 40 minutes ago. And he hiked in to wait for me because he assumed I'm walking by. And he waited because I had a really long conversation with this other guy. And I walked up to him. It was right before dark, too. There was no other hikers. I was very well aware. I was like, this could not be good. And he was just creepy and weird. He's like, I assume you must be famous. We need to get our picture together. He was just a creep. No bad intentions, I guess, because he eventually just left.
How are you handling this second encounter? Are you like, sure, I'll take a photo with you? Are you like, actually, you're making me kind of uncomfortable?
I never said anything like that to him. I definitely took a picture with him, and I'm sure he must have felt like I was visibly uncomfortable, because you just become very aware. We're not at the road anymore. There's no people around. He had hiked in a distance enough that like, you're not yelling and running back to the road. Like, yeah, it was a pretty fast encounter. And then he just was, oh, okay. And he just walked out, was gone.
Are you staggering your posts and stuff?
Yeah.
I know that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah, even then I was, at least to some extent.
Yeah.
And he didn't know who I was. He just, yeah, I guess was curious. I don't know.
I remember on the AT I had, it was in Irwin, it was Uncle Johnny's. And I acted very nice about it in the moment because I was like, I don't want to be a dick to someone. And then in retrospect, I always think about it and I'm like, man, I should have been a bit of a jerk to this guy just in terms of vocalizing what I actually felt. But there was a time where I stagger all my stuff too. You just feel better sleeping at night, especially when you start a trail alone. But there was a time where I got to Uncle Johnny's, met a guy that was super nice, that was excited to see me, had seen the videos. And I got a tag on Instagram as I was hiking, and it was the back of me at the counter of Uncle Johnny's. And it was a post saying, found Chance, she's alive and well. She is currently at mile, da-da-da-da-da.
No.
And I untagged myself, and I was like, that's really weird. But he was really nice to me in person. And after that, I'm like, dude, like, to take a photo of someone when they don't know you're going to and to post it with their exact location, like, I don't care how nice you were to me. I should have been like, are you dumb?
Yeah.
Like, why would that seem normal to you? But that night I had a lot of trouble sleeping because I was like, now the internet knows my exact mile marker. Anyone can come fucking find me.
And it's so easy for them. Like, even staggering your posts, if you make reference to anything with a date, which happens.
Or post a story.
I've had a lot of stuff. I had a guy message me when we were in Twin Lakes, so maybe a few weeks ago. He had done the math from like either 4th of July or some other date. And he was like, I'm envisioning your update for today, day 99. You sparkle in 9 lives, get into Twin Lakes. And he was like, not right enough where like you knew he wasn't watching you, but he had done the math for our day.
Yeah.
He knew exactly where we were.
Yeah.
And I've gotten a lot of that this year.
Yeah.
I don't think, what is it? Like, I don't know why, maybe guys, because they don't think like that they don't realize how creepy and uncomfortable it is because they're not scared.
Well, that's why I didn't rip this guy, because I was like, he was so nice and just genuinely interested when I was talking to him. I know this came from a place of excitement, and I don't want him to have been really excited to see this person whose videos he loved and like he loves this trail, and then they end up just being an asshole to him, being like, what do you think? You know, as I should have been. Yeah. But exact same thing. I think a lot of this stuff is people are excited to see you, and they're excited that after following so much and feeling like they know you so well, like, I think stuff like that is spurred from excitement. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they think about kind of how our minds think, which is, I'm alone out here, I'm very vulnerable, anything could happen. What was it like getting to where you were going to sleep that night after seeing that guy? Like, did you extend how far you were going? Did you camp further off trail? What did you do?
That was it was definitely an uncomfortable night. And then it's funny, I'm pretty sure that same night I was walking in the woods and actually passed someone in the dark with no headlamp on. They just walked up, and all of a sudden there's a person at 8, 9 o'clock at night right in front of me. And they were like, get your headlamp out of my face or something. And then they just walked by, and that was it. Nothing ever came of it, but I remember it was just compiled to be like a super weird night. And on the Florida Trail, like, you're always so aware. Only made it 4 miles from the road. People are walking in. It's probably hunting season or something. Like, you're expecting people to see you. I usually sleep pretty good, but you're thinking about it. Mm-hmm. I just would always try to keep the mystery alive. Who's in the tent? Gender neutral? Maybe just my men's shoes on the outside or something. And I don't know, just hope no one ever comes by you. Yeah. But it freaks you out. This year was a unique hike. I think just with like kind of the growth of the blog. And then I spent the entire first 100 and something days hiking with 9 Lives, who has a really big YouTube following. And I couldn't even begin to say between the two of us how many weird things we had this year. And a guy followed us in Steamboat. He followed me out of a gas station and acted like he had just stumbled on us and we're hikers. In reality, he actually had been spent the whole week going around town looking for 9 lives. And we didn't know this until we met some hikers in front of us. And they saw, I guess, maybe a photo and were like, you met that guy. He'd been asking about you to every hiker for a week and said he was just driving around town looking for you. And then he came up to us. He's like, I've been looking for you guys, and came and talked to us. And there've been a lot of things like that with followers and subscribers. And it's been great. Like, it's worked in our benefit a few times with being hosted and cool stuff. But we've definitely been some really weird encounters with people pulling over and recognizing someone.
It's crazy that it's not just like one area or one state or one trail, because that happened to me in Pennsylvania, where there was a guy on trail that kept asking, and I knew from the group I was with a rather large group, and we had met at a break, and someone had mentioned, hey, there's a guy asking for you, like on trail looking for you, asking people if they've seen you. And I ended up seeing this guy, and somehow he didn't recognize me, which is shocking because of the red hair.
That's amazing, though.
But he like was starting to talk to me while I was walking, and maybe he did recognize me, and he was trying to play it cool or something, because I was shocked that he wasn't like, oh, finally I found you. But I remember just as I saw him like and walked past him, I was like, oh, how you doing? And like kept going, that I didn't stop for a while after that. And I just like don't know where people get off thinking that that's a normal behavior.
No, and it's such a weird added element. You're out in the woods. You're so aware that you're by yourself. And yeah, I mean, once someone knows where you are, that's road walking recently, when it's just, a lot of it was just me and one other girl. The guys were hitching around the roads because everyone hates all these road walks. And when people would pull by us and like slow roll us, you become pretty aware that they know you're on a 50-mile straight track.
Yeah.
They know exactly where you are.
Yeah.
You could do some, like, they can come back for you.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of that. We've had so many people drive by, creepy and slow, or just someone the other day, like, I looked in my phone and saw the reflection of a car lingering behind us.
Yeah.
And they were like, stop and go with our speed. And I was like, if I hadn't just like turned to look at something randomly, we wouldn't have even seen that car had parked and was like, in the movies, they're like trolling behind you.
Yeah.
And then we're recording on all the roads. I was like having my phone in my fanny pack and recording interactions when people would stop. 'Cause like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, we were in Virginia on the AT, and we had gotten to a trailhead in like 2 separate groups. The guys had gotten there sooner than me and the girl I was hiking with. And when we hitched into town and we met at like the McDonald's wherever we were meeting, I remember the guy I was hooking up with was just unsettled, fuming, and like uneasy. And I was like, what is up? And they had gotten a ride from these 2 guys in this pickup truck that they had mentioned, like, oh, can we wait? Like, our 2 friends are coming, like, described us a little bit. They were like, oh, no, like, we'll just take you guys. We can always go back. And then they started, I guess, on the drive into town saying how they were going to go back to get us in, like, a creepy way. And they had dropped the guys off, and the guys were just, like, pacing at this McDonald's, worried that those 2 guys in the truck were going to come find us.
Yeah.
And so when we got there, they were like, who picked you up? What was the car you were in? Like, all this stuff. And it's like, dude, just leave us alone. Just let us be girls outside.
Yeah.
Doing our shit. Don't come find us.
Yeah. Don't come looking for us.
Yeah, is the trail fame a net positive, a net negative?
It's really weird having people recognize you on any trail. It's definitely like, yeah, that's super strange. It's cool. On this trail, I mean, we had some unique experiences being hosted and doing some stuff. I'd say generally positive. Yeah. It's probably only as negative as it is just to be a girl on trail in general. Yeah. Like, it just adds a little tinge.
Yeah. Somebody listening to this who is a fan of yours, what's something that you'd like to relay to them? Like, because it sounds like you are open to trail magic in some circumstances, but obviously, like, some people obviously cross the line. Like, is there a litmus test that you can offer for somebody like to not be weird? Like, obviously somebody following you off the road into the trail is so far beyond the line.
Hide and wait for you.
that is crossing a line. I guess what would you like to say to the people listening to that?
I think it's really easy to put someone at ease in an instance like that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like emphasizing that you're I don't mean to bother you. I'm not trying to scare you or anything. I'm just a fan. We've been just like make it known. Oh, I've been reading since the Appalachian Trail, And I feel like just go tiptoe and go slowly and kind of read the room. I think it almost doesn't even need to be said unless you're lacking like completely in social awareness and things. Like it's always been so nice. Like I've gotten in the car with random people that are like, I read your blog, and like you can tell in 4 minutes they are just a really nice person who is excited, and that's totally fine. And as long as they're just like exercising normal boundaries, it's never going to be a thing.
Yeah.
I also think like saying it straight up, just being like, oh my God, hey, I read your blog,
Yeah.
is so much better than not. Like I've been in situations where someone will tell me at the end, oh, by the way, I watch your videos. And you can kind of feel when it feels like you know me more, like you can kind of tell. And I feel like when someone just doesn't say it or like hides it, like I know that they're just trying to not be weird, right? But like then you can also kind of sense that a little bit, and it feels like something's not on the table that could easily be there.
I've even had that happen to me. It's different because like I don't ever feel like I'm physically in harm's way, but you can tell when people know who you are.
Just say it.
Yeah.
And then we'll make a
weird
joke of it.
Sometimes, because I think they'll try to keep that component out, and I think that's actually like a crucial part of the comfort is letting me know what you know.
Otherwise you just can't trust.
Yeah, you can't. Like pretending like you don't know me, and then that kind of gives you an odd leverage of almost like now I'm not expecting certain aspects of interaction that you might be expecting if you knew, oh, you're a fan, you know me. Like
well,
they're trying to play it off.
If I feel like you know me and you're acting like you don't, that feels like you're not being truthful with me in a way. And then you don't have that trust, and it's like, what else might you not be being truthful about? So I think just like front up saying it, even if it like is awkward, like, hey, it's so weird, but like I follow your blog. So much easier to just peel the Band-Aid off. I also think on the AT, like when I stayed with Nancy, who we love, guest the podcast. One of the things that she did that was really great was she had reached out like a month in advance, and she was like, hey, when you get to this section, I usually like to host, she gave me kind of like the info, and I had enough time in advance to kind of look into her, do a little Insta stalk, see what kind of person she was. And then the other thing that I thought was really helpful that she had done was she referenced to someone. And Josh, Google, was that his trail name?
Yeah.
He had also hosted me before starting the AT. I had never met him before in my life, but he did the same thing where when he reached out, he referenced someone.
Yeah.
Hey, he was like, I blogged for the trek. And so I was like, great, I can ask Zach, or I can ask someone like, what's the vibe on this guy? Or with Nancy, she said she had hosted Twinkle.
Yeah.
So I had time in between to message Twinkle and be like, hey, how was your encounter with this person? And I think the times where I would have really appreciated taking someone up on something and didn't was when it was just too, like, I get to town, I see the message, I don't have enough time to process this and make a decision and look into it, and it's just easier to not answer.
Sure.
So I think if you're someone who, like, really, like, this is something that excites you about someone you're following, say it in advance, send them a message in advance so they have time to look into it. If you have any mutual connection, like, hey, I hiked the AT in this year. It doesn't have to be you know someone, but I also hiked the AT in this year. This is my trail name. Like, I wouldn't know about just anything that lets me know a little more to make this decision off of, or gives a familiarity somewhere and gives me time to think about it first.
Yeah, that's the best too. People reaching out and being like, when you get here, hit me up. That was a nice thing on this trail, which you often, forget and then never do, and get to town and finally check and realize that you missed that. But it gives you time to suss it out.
Before we move on from the subject, do you have advice to somebody else who is going to be entering into the world of thru hiking, who plans to be public with their persona, in terms of like staggering and any other general advice to like not put yourself in harm's way?
I'd say staggering your posts is crucial. I mean, like if you were just getting into things, like last year I didn't stagger them nearly as much. I don't think it mattered until you kind of hit a threshold where you realize people are literally tracking you. Like people are communicating in the comments of my videos and telling each other how staggered the videos are. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Oh, don't comment this. It's not actually this time of year. She posted this on June 10th and I've done all the math. I'm like, okay. But just do your best.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like you need to be like afraid or anything. Like I've spent so much time out, and there's very little bad experiences to show for it.
Yeah.
I think also if you're not like a super social media person going into a hike and you want to do something like blog your hike or post Instagrams of it or post YouTubes of it, what you might not know if you're not already super into social media is you can schedule posts. If I go to upload a video on YouTube, I can schedule a day and time that it goes from private to public. So I don't even need to be in reception. I can just schedule it. Hey, I'm uploading 5 videos. Every Tuesday at 9 a.m., one of these is going to be scheduled. Same thing with Instagram. As long as you're not adding collaborators to the post, because that will take off the scheduling feature, you can actually schedule the Instagram post. You don't need Buffer. You don't need Hootsuite. You don't need a social media management software. You can do it directly from the app. You just have to go into the additional settings, and then you select what day and time you want the post to go public. So you're still posting stuff in the moment when it's fresh for you, but the post isn't going public until you set it to.
Yeah. Cool. I think that's all really helpful advice. More Florida Trail funness. You fell into some deep water.
Yes.
Literally.
Literally. And it's funny because you said you'll never do the Florida Trail. I don't even think it was a year before doing it that someone had asked me about it, and I was like, I'm never doing the Florida Trail. I would do every other National Scenic Trail first before I do that one. And then, yeah, because I'm scared of swamp, I'm scared of murky water, snakes, alligators.
Floridians.
Yeah, Florida people are crazy. But, yeah, one day I was hiking, and it wasn't even one of the infamous swampy portions, because there's a few, like Bradwell Bay, which is really deep, and like Big Cypress at either the start or the end, that it's really long, swampy sections. And this just one day I had just started hiking alone that week, because I'd previously been hiking with like a person on and off. And then I'm reading comments and realizing it looks like I'm going through some shit today. And then I'm getting all stressed about it. And I wound up hiking through something that went from shin-ish deep to thigh deep in a step. And I didn't have my poles out because it was really only 100 feet of water. And like the tall, reedy water where you really can't tell how deep it is until you're in it. And I stepped, and the ground was like 1.5 feet lower than it looked, and I fell forward, and then I'm soaked. It's also like really close to the sun setting, so I'm like, cool, I'm completely fucked. I remember just first panic was I'm underwater and my fanny pack's fully submerged, my phone's fully submerged. I need to get out of water. And then I'm trying to get up. I can't get up off the ground because it's deep and like there's nothing to push off of. And then like a light bulb went off in my head and was like, you are up to your chest in murky, swampy, deep water with pythons, alligators. And then I think that like lit a panic in me that didn't exist up until then. And then I'm freaking out because I'm like hyper aware. And we're talking like a road fully submerged with water with reeds on the side. And I went to the side. So, like, to my right is assumptively, like, deep, open, pooling water, like, and there was comments on previous crossings right before that, like, careful, like, alligator in the middle of, like, there's gators, they're there.
Oh, no.
So I just became, like, super aware and fell back in trying to get up, and I'm sure it was only a couple minutes. And then I got out, but that was, it was up until then, I think nothing had happened that it scared me that much on trail.
Wow.
Like, very, like, adrenaline-y, kind of, like, flashbacking to it. Like, my mind, for, like, a week or two after that, I could vividly remember just the thoughts and feelings and everything surrounding when I was in the water and realizing that I was in a bad situation. And I would flash back to that memory, like, over and over. And, yeah, and you're just alone. Luckily, there wasn't a lot of swamp in the week to come after that, but that had me messed up.
I think that's the part that's, like, most terrifying about the concept of the like, that's where I think that you might be wrong in being like, I don't know, I didn't want to do it, but I did. I can't picture walking knee deep in water that I can't see through, where there may or may not be a gator.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I am physically capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know? Like, do you just not know and you're just kind of hoping the whole time? Or are there hacks that you can do? Like, I'm going to swing my trekking poles in the water a little bit in front of me, and if something moves, then I don't take a step.
Yeah, I guess it depends where on trail you are. Most people go north on the Florida Trail, and the nice thing is the first swamp you have in Big Cypress is crystal clear. You can see everything, and if you can't, it means something's in the water. Like, if someone's in front of you, they muck it up. There was a couple times I was out front and the water mucked, and I'm like, okay, something, could be a turtle, something is in front of me on the trail.
What do you do?
Just like, I just stopped, and there was luckily that one time that happened, someone was right behind me, and I just waited for them to catch up, and we didn't experience anything. But it's kind of like, I'm so scared of water like that it was mostly just mind over matter.
Yeah.
Like, you'd start, the deeper the water is and the longer you were in it consistently, those like feelings would start to rise up where I'm like, I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm thinking too much about this. I don't like this. And I feel like the only thing you could do is push those thoughts like, I'm fine. The water's not that deep. Like, gators like a big pond, a big deep. Like, if it's like shin deep water, it'd have to be like waist thigh deep water to like expect
Really?
Gators for sure being in it.
Have you seen that video where it's like the reason you shouldn't wear something sunglasses on trail, and you're looking at the river and you have the sunglasses on and you can't see it, and you take them off and you see that's not waist deep water.
No, and have you seen the video where it's a puddle on a road and they throw a water bottle at it and the gator flails?
Right, that's why I'm having trouble believing you.
No,
right
well, because that's so true. Like, a gator could be in any body of water in
Literally
Florida.
anywhere.
But it's just like, that's what I told myself. Like, it's most common that it's deeper water. And someone told me early on that, like, gators are like, they compared them to some other animal and were like, they are scared of you. Unless, like, you're in the water looking like prey, bending down at the shore, like,
falling
if you're splashing
first.
in the water, fuck's sake, oh my god. Yeah, exactly. If you're walking and you're splashing, they're getting out of your way.
Okay.
And also, like, the cold water, the way, like, their bodies work, like, they try to conserve energy. So, like, I mean, you could walk right up to one sunning on the shore and get, like, literally a couple feet away. It's probably not moving.
Okay.
Because it takes so much energy to move. I just, like, rationalized and lied to myself to convince myself that it's fine.
I think that's kind of like I don't know much about gators, but I think that's one of my possible misconceptions. It could be a conception and not a misconception because I don't know. But I always think, like, in my brain when I picture it, if I'm on the Florida Trail and I'm walking through shin, knee, waist, whatever deep swamp, and there's a gator anywhere, like, let's say in this room distance, that it's like magnets, where it's like they just must come to me.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like a really nice comparison that I thought of this year was gators are like black bears and crocodiles are like grizzly bears.
Oh.
Like, the alligators are like, sure, something could happen, but, like, no one's getting killed by a regular bear on the AT.
Yeah.
Like, no one's been attacked by a gator hiking the Florida Trail.
Do they give you any intel on what to do? Like, let's say you're in a precarious situation with a gator. Is there any, like, we know with black bears, raise your arms, like, yell in a friendly manner, but yell in a friendly manner, you know, like, do certain things. Is there any gator precaution where it's like, gator approaching, I'm in knee-deep water, I can't just step up onto solid ground, what do I do?
Oh, no one ever said anything like that, but I've never heard of that happening to someone, like, walking and, like, a gator swimming at you.
Yeah.
I feel like the nice thing is if you're in water, you probably have your poles. So, like, splash and stomp and maybe, like, try to, like, what you would do with a bear, try to, like, keep the pole between you. I feel like that's just so, I mean, I've never heard a story like that about the Florida Trail.
That's reassuring.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would do if they actually did something. Like, anytime people had close encounters, it's like, it's on the trail, and now you have to walk 40 feet, 30 feet around it, or there's, like, a gator hole right on the trail in the first literally 5 miles of the Florida Trail. That is, like, a necessary water source in the summer seasons, and the gator sleeps in there because it's water. And it's like, the gator was home today. All the FarOut comments, gator wasn't home today. Gator was home today. You walked by, the gator hissed at you. Like, but it just seems like they're, like, that's what they're going to do. Like, it's going to hiss at you. Like, I don't know. It's not going to, like, run at you.
Yeah, that's what my brain thinks.
That's what I would also think, but I guess that's not true.
Wasn't there a story of a gator snatching, like, a toddler at Disney World or something like that?
I remember that story.
Yeah, and a hiker got his tent, something taken from him last year on a part of the Florida Trail. He slept, like, on a grassy portion really close to water. And I guess it came up, and when he didn't notice, and he was packing up, and it grabbed something of his on the shore. It was like a huge classic Facebook group, Florida Trail group, like huge thing last year.
Oof.
I should join the Florida Trail group just to see all this
Yeah.
stuff. Because in my mind, like, I think, like, when you ruminate on something and, like, make it really big in your mind, if I could project my image of what the Florida Trail must be onto, like, a movie screen for people to watch, it's a horror movie.
Yeah, it is. Everglades horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you didn't end up seeing a gator when you fell in, thankfully.
No, I didn't see anything, and I was never in a body of water and saw any gator. I don't think I actually saw my first gator until right before the end, like in a pond off the road. And then when you get to Big Cypress, like, there's so many gators there. It's like a visitor center. It seems like they must be, like, feeding them to keep them there. There's so many gators there. But luckily I think ignorance was bliss. Seeing very few the whole hike made me be like, there's no gators out here.
Yeah.
Did you see pythons or water moccasins or any of the scary snakes?
No, I think I saw one rattlesnake last year. Besides, like, non-venomous snakes, I didn't see another snake all year.
Huh.
Sounds like you did see ticks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In the Sewanee section of the Florida Trail, the ticks are like a tiny freckle. And you see them, you're like, oh my God, they are all over me. They must be all over me. I'm never going to find them all.
Is that extra scary having already had Lyme, or is Lyme like one of those things where once you get it the first time's the worst?
No, sadly, Lyme's actually the opposite. And, like, once you've had it, if you got it again and you went a long time without, like, it could be bad to get it again. And the first time I had Lyme, it went undiagnosed for a really long time, so I feel like it would be bad.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty cautious. A lot of people got Lyme last year when I was on the AT. Like, around New York area, truly probably 10 or 15 people I knew all got Lyme in that section of trail.
Yeah. Do the ticks in Florida carry Lyme disease?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm sure they carry something gross and terrible.
Yeah.
It's not Lone Star. Or is it? Is that out here? Or?
I think that's by the name Texas.
Yeah, but out here's Rocky Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
Fever. Yeah.
Maybe it is like Lone Star ticks out there, or that might have been out here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if they carry anything. I didn't have too much issue. It was like in 100-mile section where you noticed ticks, and besides that, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. All right, so what's it like finishing at Key West?
It was cool. Like, kind of, I would compare it to climbing Mount Washington, where you've put all this work in to get there, and then there's a line of people taking photos because they all drove there.
Yeah.
And, like, a lady kind of, like, got mad at me for touching it after she took her picture. And I had to wait in line, like, 3 times because people got mad that you were taking pictures for too long.
Yeah. Ma'am, I just walked here from the northern tip of Canada. Please let me have this.
Truly.
Yeah.
I did a sake there right in front of the monument, like, far enough away that people could still take their photos, but, like, in front of the line of people.
A sake as in, like, a shoey out of a sock?
Mm-hmm.
We just learned about this recently. I didn't know that this was a thing.
A sake?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it before.
And it's funny, I didn't remember to do one the other day, but I've done one at the end of every other through hike.
Well, have no fear, because we have a show note in here to mention asking to you around this time if you'd like to. It's not
to do a sake?
You could do a shoey too. We have my Katahdin shoes.
Oh my God.
That I hiked the last 900 miles of the AT.
How long ago was that?
In 2019.
That's so scary.
But you wouldn't be the first Backpacker Radio guest to do a shoey out of them.
Holy shit.
So they've already been cleaned out for you.
Obviously, I'll do it.
Great.
But
that'll be on the
yeah,
Patreon.
because I felt bad. I didn't do one. We were so rushed the other day. And it's actually funny. A girl who I might meet up for after this in lunch, she's the reason we did a shoey on the PCT. She's like from Australia and on a rugby team, and that was their tradition. She's like, I'm gonna do this, guys, but you don't have to do it with us. We're like, obviously all of us are doing that with you. Are you kidding? Like, you don't even have to convince us.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
Had you heard of a shoey prior to that?
Yeah, but a sake is just a disgusting
That's so gross.
added, like, take your sock off, put it in a cup, pour the beer into the cup through your sock, drink it, and then squeeze the sock into your mouth.
No, you squeezed it?
Squeeze it.
Did you at least take like the cleaner of pears from your pack, or did you just rip the one off your foot?
Like, started that morning in clean socks, at least. So, like, on the PCT, I think we did 8 miles, and on at Key West last year, I think we did like a couple miles that morning in them.
Does the beer have a discernibly different taste?
Shockingly, no. I feel like a shoey could almost be grosser depending on the state of your shoes and like how much is like there's got to be gravel and dirt.
You squeezed this. You wrang out the sock into your mouth.
That was incredible to do at the monument at Key West, honestly, because like, I can't even imagine how triggering that must be to people to witness that.
It's horrifying to hear about.
Did you have people watching you do it?
There was a line waiting to take pictures, so it's like, what else are you watching? People taking pictures at this monument?
Did anyone have any commentary for you?
Not really. Like, I was actually surprised when we were there, like, no one cared.
Yeah.
No one even... It was humbling, actually, in an amazing way. I love finishing a thru hike and no one gives a shit.
Yeah, sure.
No one asks.
Yeah.
No one wants to know what you're doing. They could not care less. And I'm like, that's fair.
What a dichotomy, because, you've just completed this. How many months did it end up being?
10 and a half.
10 and a half months.
So long.
5,500 miles. You're sitting there chugging a beer out of a sock.
Yeah.
And nobody gives a fuck.
No one gives a shit. Not even enough to ask and pretend like they care.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. What does it feel like at the end of it? Do you know that the CDT is next year? Like, have you already planned out this year's hiking?
Roughly. I think it was a hope, but it was very work dependent, for sure.
Yeah. What do you do for work? You're a server, right?
Yeah, that's what I did, but in this gap between, I have like a bachelor's degree and I used to work in like addiction treatment.
Okay.
But I'd say for thru hiking, serving makes more money.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's nice because you can pick it up anywhere and you're in
4
and out.
months.
Yeah. Do you have to lie about how long you plan on sticking with a restaurant?
No. And the nice thing is this last place I went to, I was just kind of vague and said, like, I just signed on to a lease and just moved here. But I tried not to lie too much because, like, I want them to like me and want me to come back. And then I wound up just being honest with them, and I'd only been there for 4 months. And they were so nice, like, eager for me to return. So I think just, like, maybe don't, in your interview, tell them you're going to be there for 3 months.
Yeah.
But be vague. I was like, I just signed on to a lease.
Yeah.
Is it a month-to-month lease?
Right.
Yeah. But you don't need to know all the details.
I will say I was a server for 10 years at various places. And a lot of it is like, when I'm home, I can do this. When I'm out doing something, I can't. And I think there's such high turnover in the restaurant industry that they're not expecting you to have a career at this restaurant when you're applying for the job. But I also think there's, like, if you want to be truthful with it, there's also a merit to just telling them what's up, because there are times that I'd be like, hey, I'm only going to be here for 2 months and then I need to go because I'm doing this. However, for those 2 months, I'm trying to make as much money as I can. So you can put me on double shifts. You can call me if someone calls out. You can have me do the closing shift. You can have me do the opening shift. You can have me do 21 days in a row, which I did open to close one time, 21 days without a day off. And I just started sleeping in the back room because it was like, I need the sleep. I'm not going to go home. But I think that's almost better for you because, sure, I'm going to leave in a few months, maybe. However, if you can be that person for them where you can work the shifts people don't want, you can be the person on call that they know will pick up the shift and they know the motivation you have for why, I think that's really appealing to a restaurant owner.
Oh, totally. And it's hard to come by, like, fast, hardworking, good servers, which is shocking. You'd think, how could that be tough? And then you go work somewhere and you're like, everyone's so terrible. And, yeah, I think, like, thru hiking kind of got me the job. And then I think then they know what you do, so they're not as surprised about your weird schedule. Yeah. And, like, oh, you just did this. Oh, the year before that you did this. Like, they don't think you're gonna stick around forever.
Yeah.
You can also use it as a pitch. Like, hey, I can be on my feet all day,
Yeah.
running back and forth and not get tired.
Yeah.
I can deal with monotony and repetitive tasks over and over and still do them well. Like, you can pitch the skills of thru hiking to why you'll be an asset in the off season.
Oh, totally. And you're kind of interesting to, like, it's when you've been thru hiking, it's so easy to talk to some random person and have a conversation and whatever. Like, I think they weren't hiring the place that I went to in Philly, and then after they were like, oh, so like, where'd you come from and like, what's your story? And we just like made small talk, and they were like, the manager and owner was like, yeah, we don't really have space for you, but we need you to work here. Like, no one works here. She's like, you're kind of like a little celebrity. I'm like, no, but it's an interesting thing, like, for small talk. And I've been on my feet every single day for the last 320 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get any of your followers coming into your restaurant to see you?
No, but I did have a couple encounters in Philly with strangers who had read the blog.
Yeah.
And like getting like a peg leg in public in Philly and being like, whoa, that is strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never had anyone come in who like knew me or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay, so CDT, Sobo, I assume that the reason to southbound was so you could stack a little extra cash for the hike?
Yeah, and it just seems like Sobo is a really good direction for the CDT.
Yeah, if I had to pick one of the two, I would go southbound as well. Going through the San Juans and snow sounds like not my ideal circumstance.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah. And then how did you link up with your group?
Yeah, so it was the first thru hike I've ever started with people. Like, we were on the same flight together, planned everything in advance. It was kind of like it linked up with like 3 people, but the greater group was like almost 10 people who I knew from other trails that we had all communicated, like, we're all doing the CDT and when are you starting? And we had met on other hikes. Like, it was one guy who I'd met on the Florida Trail. He'd actually picked me up at Key West when I finished. And I knew him from the AT and the PCT, and then like 9 Lives, we had met at Trail Days, but we had never hiked together, and we just kind of like got a little group together. And it's funny, we started with probably 10 people that I knew, and within like 3 weeks we're hiking with all strangers and one person I knew. Just classic. Like, you can plan to all come out together, but everyone's goals are so different, and miles and alternates and stuff, so it didn't last long, but it was pretty cool to start.
Yeah. I know in the early days of the CDT, you hit some pretty wild snow.
Yes. We got a snowstorm in the first week. Probably should have stayed home and not had to 000 in Glacier.
Yeah. What was your start date?
God, I think the 14th of June.
Okay.
But then we did 2 days and then we 000'd.
Yeah.
So it could have been should have been around the 20th, probably would have been good.
Is that a pretty normal start date for southbound on this CDT?
Yeah, it's on the earlier side, but ideally, like, earlier is better as long as weather allows it.
Yeah, right. So what's it like being holed up for a few days during a snowstorm?
It was not amazing because, like, obviously you're just starting and you're excited, and I wasn't thinking we were going to zero for, like, the first week probably, but there were so many hikers at Glacier. It was, like, Luna's, which is, like, an iconic hostel, standing room only. Like, every inch of the floor and the kitchen and everywhere was covered. There were like 40 people there. Just this huge bubble, and everyone got stuck there. It was pretty fun, honestly.
Yeah. What's it like to be back on a standard Triple Crown trail with like a big hiking group? Because the previous year you'd kind of seen everything, but it sounds like the last thousands of miles it was more traditional. What's it like to be back in that sort of environment? It
was nice. It was just so cool to be surrounded by people again on a trail, just doing the thing, like what people think of when they think of thru hiking, camping with people and being in town with hikers and hanging out and getting meals and stuff. It felt really good.
Yeah. So we recently did a very deep dive on the CDT with Katie Jackson. So I don't want to do a play-by-play, especially because I feel like we did that with the ECT here, but what are some of your favorite standout stories from the CDT?
Yeah. Well, standout stories, I guess some of the favorite things that we did was once you got a little further south past Yellowstone, I think that's when the trail opens up to like endless possibilities for side quests. Like, the bubble of hikers all got together at Yellowstone, because that's where the trail reconnects from the Big Sky to the Red Line. And then from there, it's like, I don't think we saw a lot of hikers for like 3 weeks, because you could do the Teton Crest, or you could go through Yellowstone, and there's so many alternates. And that was just some of my favorite times on trail, like some of the slowest hiking and hardest hiking, but like the most beautiful, cool views and animal encounters. Like we did Teton Crest, and you go through the Gravant Wilderness, and then you have the option to do the Winds or the High Route or all these different things. It was just, yeah, that was an amazing section of the trail.
Yeah. I know you had a dicey moment in the Winds.
Yes. Yeah, it would have probably been smart to maybe research anything about the Wind River High Route. I just kind of took like loose comments from someone who said they knew everything about it, and they were like, oh, it's all route finding and off trail. But I just don't think I fully appreciated what that meant at such high elevation. And like, yeah, I mean, you're doing class 3 scrambles like all day, and like big fallout and rocks crumbling out from under you, and we'd been like hiking for an entire day in some of the hardest conditions ever, and then all of a sudden you just like hit a literal wall where a glacier formed, Knife's Edge Glacier, and it's like this long sloped piece of ice that you had to then go all the way across. We didn't know it was there, or at least I didn't know it was there, so we didn't have spikes. I had just trekking poles. One of the people I was with had just broken both their trekking poles because of the terrain. And like, if you slipped and fell, you'd fall like 50 feet off a little slope, probably get pretty hurt. We read a comment about a guy who slipped and fell and was like pretty hurt. And it was just, I remember walking and saying out loud, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done. Why are we doing this? This is so dangerous. I would like, and I was pissed at the guy. I know that's not fair. You're taking someone's word for everything and you're not doing any of your own research. Obviously, no one's to blame. Yeah. But I just remember being like, I can't believe he put us in this situation. We didn't even know this was going to happen. And I feel so uncomfortable and unsafe. And that was really the first time on that trail I'd felt that way. Yeah.
Are you doing Skirka's route or Adventure Allen?
Adventure, what is it, Dixon's?
Yeah,
Dixon?
Allen
Yeah,
Dixon.
Yeah, we did that route, and I think the glaciers on both routes, but yeah. Oof, not Skirka's. Yeah. Not Skirka's route.
Would you do that again?
Yes.
With the appropriate gear? Yeah,
and it would have been a great hike if I'd understood how well it was going to slow us down. Yeah. We were getting low on food by like the couple days in, just because we had expected to do 20s. And it was like hard to do 15. So we were low on food, which added like a whole other element of stress to it.
How does that route style hiking compare to like what you had done in the international AT?
Yeah. It's hard to compare to like the Quebec portion. I guess the difficulty of the terrain is similar, but that is like a mapped trail. The only thing I can really compare it to is the Gros Morne National Park in Newfoundland, which we side quested to, and that was a 20-mile section of no trail, all route finding, a little bit of stuff like that. But the high route was the first time I'd ever done anything like so long with no trail, and yeah, like I didn't know what we were in store for sure.
Yeah. Totally changing subjects, but I've noticed in a lot of your town stops there's often a pool involved. I feel like, are you guys always seeking out a pool?
This year I think we kind of gave up on that after a while, but yeah, pool, a hot tub, like that's goals. That's goals.
And tell me about how your group fluctuated, so you started with, you said 3 people and then it exploded to 10. How did that evolve as the trip went on?
Yeah, I flew in. Yeah, it was 3 of us flying in. And then we linked up with some people early on, like added another person to our permit. And then within the first town, like we're seeing a bunch of other friends who I'd seen on the Florida Trail. And I mean, not everyone was just doing different stuff. Like maybe you couldn't get a permit, so you're not camping out or you're bypassing a portion and stuff. But pretty early on, it was like me and 9 Lives, and we linked up with a couple other people. And then it was like a group of 4 or 5 of us for like a really long time until past Yellowstone. And then the same core group, it was, I mean, over 100 days we probably hiked together. All those side quests and everything we did together. And it wasn't really until Colorado that like pace and stuff, I think people, as you approach the end, I think you either keep your pace or like you feel a resistance of the end of the hike coming. And you try to stop it from ending by slowing down or taking more days. And I just didn't have the time to do that. So our group kind of split towards the end.
Yeah. I know there's a pressure to get through the San Juans by, what's the date, like October 1st? Is there like a official date to get through the San Juans?
People said like October 1st is really intelligent and like middle of October would be a good move.
Yeah. Were you able to accomplish that?
I don't even think we got into the San Juans until like October 4th or 5th.
Did you see snow?
A storm hit us, but we were able to like get off the day before, go into town, and then by the time you got out, it was actually just like a cute dusting on the trail.
Is that nerve-wracking to be in the San Juans?
Yeah.
during the storm?
There was like, I think it was the West Collegiate we were going through at that time, but it's scary. Like you're so exposed. All it takes is like we had 1 or 2 days with like wind and rain. You're only at 12,000 feet, so you know you can go up from there, and you're cold. Yeah. And it's like, wow, the conditions aren't even actually that bad.
Yeah. And I know you had like a historically scary moment recently. Was this a couple weeks ago?
Yes. Yeah, I think that was maybe 2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah. To put a timestamp on it, I guess toward the end of October.
Yeah.
And where are you at this point?
Right before Grants, New Mexico. Okay. So like couple hundred miles from the end.
Yeah. What happened?
We had a horrible forecast, days of rain, but we're not waiting it out. We don't have time to wait it out. First day, rained all day, nothing too bad. It's not, pooling and accumulating. We camped one night at like low-lying ground. We had no issues. And then the next day it rained a ton. And then like it wound up being a perfect day. The sun came out, we dried everything. We hiked into the night. We got to camp before the rain started again. We're like, we're nailing this. Like we just set up our tents and it's about to pour all night. And we weren't on what I would call low-lying ground. We were on a slight hill with trees and it started pouring right in our tents. It went on for hours. And then like I was awake. It was 9:30 at night. And all of a sudden, like, I'm kind of hearing water. And I'm thinking, like, okay, well, it's probably like a puddle forming under your whole tent. Like, that usually happens. And I can't really see out. And I'm looking and I'm hearing, like, what sounds like like a stream moving by. But we're in an area where there's no water. There's cow troughs. Like, we were maybe 100, 300 feet from a cow trough. And then I look out again and the water has substantially risen where I can like see it right near my tent. And then in like 10 seconds, a literal wave of dark brown water smacked, like, like it rolled down the hill and just hit us. And I watched my pot float away. Somehow it was fast enough, grabbed my shoes because I keep my shoes, my stove, my pack out. The water was so high, everything would have floated away. Grabbed everything, pulled everything into my tent. And then I had a light bulb moment of, do I get out of my tent or do I zipper myself in and pack my shit? But I vividly remember even like, and of course the guy I'm with is sleeping. I'm like, syrup, we're in a flash flood. And I woke him up. He's freaking out. I'm trying to stay calm. But I'm like, I remember saying, I don't know what to do. In your tent, water's up to your stomach. Sitting.
Okay.
Like, kneeling, it was like still high. It's like a foot over the tent. So, I mean, it's everything you own soaking, submerged in water. And I remember thinking if I zipper myself in the tent and the water keeps coming, I could drown if it like takes the stakes out. Yeah. I zipped myself in. I just was like, I'm either losing everything I own or I'm zipping myself in. So I zipped myself in, packed everything. Luckily, my stakes stayed, and I packed the tent last. And then I had to cross like a 40-foot river, which there had been no water there. Now it's a 40-foot river, shin-knee deep, that you have to cross to get back to the trail. 9:30 at night. We had just done a marathon, and we were 56 miles from town. Everything I own is soaked. My sleeping bag fully soaked, so I knew...
You didn't lose anything.
I lost my pot, one trekking pole, and in the end, my anchor brick could still charge my phone, but it had gotten stuff in it, so it couldn't be recharged.
Yeah.
So I did have to get a new one of those, but pretty much lost nothing.
Yeah.
But I knew my quilt was soaking, like, it was this big, soaking wet. I'm like, I'll never be able to dry that in the sun. We're going to have to, like, dry that at a laundromat.
Yeah.
So I knew I could never camp again.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm like, okay, we just did 26, and it's 56 miles to town. And we are going, I knew immediately I'm going straight to town.
Yeah.
The guy I was with was like, that was not, he probably could have camped. Like, his quilt, I think he, like, thought fast enough. He saved his quilt, but he lost a lot of gear. He lost a ton. Rain jacket, like, yeah.
Oof. Okay, so flash flood. And then you know right away that you're just going to do 56 miles straight to town?
Yeah, so, I mean, it'd be an 80, I think it wound up being an 85, because we had just finished a full day of hiking, laid in our tents for 2 hours,
Yeah.
and then we're walking again.
And you don't have any dry clothes either.
No, well, God, it's funny how things happen, and, like, I feel like everything happens exactly how it should, because I'm such a creature of habit. I do every single thing probably identical every day on trail. And because of the rain that day, I had set up camp different, and I had packed things different in a way I've never done that whole year or last year. And I don't know what made me do it, but, like, I didn't sleep in my Senshi pants. I didn't sleep in my puffy. For some reason, I was scared that the rain, I'd gotten, like, a puddle the night before from a drip. So, like, I packed a bunch of stuff in my dry bag that I normally didn't. I kept my glasses out. I did, like, all kinds of stuff that I never do. And it wound up leaving me with, like, some dry clothes and some dry gear. And everything was, like, right where it needed to be. Like, and I've never set up camp like that before that.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah. That's lucky.
Yeah. So I would have been fine. Like, we probably could have camped, but it's cold in New Mexico. Like, even that night, like, the guy I was with, Serp, was like, what do we do? And I'm like, we start walking right now.
Yeah.
We're soaking wet. It's 9:30 at night. And it was like, it rained for the next, like, 5 hours.
Yeah.
We were so cold. It took 5 hours of continuous hiking to dry the layers on my body. And yeah, then we took a break every hour, 2 hours, walked all night, walked all day the next day. We dried our stuff off in the afternoon. Someone offered us a hitch all the way to town, and I said no, because I'm a psycho. And, like, I'm like, sir, you should go. Take it. I know I'm never going to get them to drive me back here.
Yeah.
Like, it was a random dirt road. I'm like, I'm not getting a ride back here. I can't take that ride. I've also already done the majority of the suffering and the walking, so we might as well just keep going.
Yeah. How much distance would that have saved you?
We were like 35 miles out of town at 10 o'clock in the morning, taking, like, a dry our stuff break, and they would have driven us all the way to Grants.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah, I know. And Serp looked to me, because he was, like, bypassing some roadwalks. So for him, like, do it, dude. Like, you're not missing, like, your footpath or anything. And he was like, you're gonna say no, aren't you? I'm like, yeah. And I said no.
How destroyed are you by the time that you get to Grants?
Less than you might think. I made the decision so early on in my head that I was going there that, like, we were getting there no matter what. I felt sore, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad, honestly.
Is that the scariest single moment that you've had in your thru hiking career?
Yeah. Besides maybe, like, a one river crossing here or there, that was the most, like, it reminded me of the alligator incident. Mm-hmm. Those are the only 2 times I remember thru hiking where, like, you have a looking down on yourself, like a real, like, fight or flight moment. Like, you become aware in the moment of what's happening, and you have to plan. And yeah, and I mean, it went, considering what happened, it went pretty well.
Yeah.
And I was like, everything worked out. I was really glad I was awake still, because the guy I was with was completely asleep. I can't even imagine if he had woken up to water.
Right. Yeah, that's intense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I know we're running long here. Are there any other standout stories that you want to share before we hit the southern terminus?
I can't think of anything, honestly.
Okay, so what's it feel like? You mentioned before we hit record that the southern terminus was a little bit anticlimactic.
Yeah, that like always is.
Yeah.
Finishing is never exactly what you think it's going to be. We did a couple miles less the day before than we thought. It was like a 3-4 o'clock pickup. There was multiple people in front of us that were already there that we knew had either been there all day or had been there for hours. So when we showed up, the shuttle driver clearly like wanted to go. We took our pictures. We were there for 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah. So this is a question that we ask probably almost every single guest. We actually know the answer here, and I'm very excited for you to share it. But what do you got planned next?
Yeah. So next year, hopefully a few more things definitely have to like kind of come together. But it looks like I'm going to attempt the border-to-border calendar year Triple Crown starting January 1st.
January 1st. How does that shift now, obviously, with the Helene situation?
Yeah, we'll see. I guess it's just like day by day. I'm kind of optimistic seeing all the love and stuff on the AT. Like, I think by March, the AT is going to be hikeable.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if it wasn't.
You'll be through before March, though, right?
I think it'll probably take to go from Key West up. I bet it'll take
That's right, I
until
forgot that you're starting at Key West. Yeah.
So I think it might actually work out perfect that
Yeah.
by the time I get there, everything will mostly be sorted.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any problem with, like, I've heard some southbounders right now who are doing, like, road walks around things. Like, I wouldn't mind doing stuff like that as long as it's doable.
Yeah.
Like, there's bridges out still, so I don't know. It'll depend what they can get done. But it's like 5-6 months until then.
Yeah. I would imagine, who knows, but I would imagine that at worst case scenario, there'll be some sort of a road walk alternative. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Damascus already announced they're still hosting trail days.
Yeah.
I think if they're going to say that, they're expecting hikers.
Yeah. And the few conversations I've had with people in the area is they're very eager for hikers to come to the area for, I think, obvious reasons. So, yeah, it sounds like everyone's rallying to make stuff happen. So, yeah, damn, that's exciting. So, spell it out. What does that look like? How many miles are you anticipating?
8,400. Obviously, it could fluctuate, like, substantially. That's, I think, 8,400 is if you do relatively the shortest distance on the CDT. Which is why I think this year I wanted to not do like any big cuts, because next year I'll have to do Big Sky, Creed, like make it as short as possible. Otherwise, if you did the whole CDT, it would be like 9,000 miles or something.
Yeah.
So as many cuts as I can do. But yeah, all three and Key West to the AT again. So that'll be interesting.
And you're saying this now, and you finished the CDT 2 days ago?
2 days ago. I know.
How does that feel? Are you excited about it, or like do you just need a little bit of a breather?
Yeah, I'm excited. I think I'll be way more excited in like a week or two.
Yeah, sure.
Honestly.
Yeah. What happens between now and then?
I don't know. I have no idea. I have nothing set in stone. I guess at this point I'm just going back to Massachusetts. I was trying to figure out a way to go back to Philly for like 5 weeks and just to work and entertain myself. I don't know if that'll be possible, but maybe. Otherwise, so much planning, because I've just been really putting off the actual like logistical planning of this for the whole year. So I finally have time again.
Yeah. Have you been in touch with like Quadzilla or Professor or anyone who's done it?
Before I started this, I reached out to Professor, and then like he was like, "Oh, we should talk on the phone." But then I got on the CDT. We never reached out to each other, but
yeah.
I definitely want to.
Yeah, he's awesome. I'm sure he'll be a huge help for you. But,
yeah.
Well, Pegleg, this has been great. Thank you so much for making this happen. I know long awaited. We tried to make it happen when you were through in the CDT and it just didn't work out. I'm stoked that it worked this time. I didn't forget. We've got the Kumo Question. Use our code SNUGGLEBUG for 20% off shelters at gossamergear.com. Chance is going to present her Kumo. You're going to reach into her sack and pull out a ball.
Oh, so cute. The Kumo Question.
Yeah. Like a fortune cookie
Yeah.
with a random ass question.
I've got to bring in my purple Kumo.
Oh, I
to put
love
in
this
place.
question too.
Spice it up. What do you got?
What is your favorite movie soundtrack?
Ooh, that's a great
That
question.
is such a good question. Okay. For some reason, the first thing that comes to my mind is Guardians of the Galaxy. That's such
that's
a
a
good
good one.
soundtrack. But this year, I think for what I actually listened to is definitely Disney movies.
Mm.
Tarzan, like talk about like best movie soundtrack of all time, or
Yeah.
Mulan. Like some of the hardest hiking days. Actually, we did like a 48-hour challenge in the desert after, I think in Wyoming, and in our most crazy lunatic times, we were listening to just Disney music the
Yeah.
whole time.
Moana slaps as well.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got the Guardians of the Galaxy vinyls for the record player, so
Ooh.
we'll put those on while we're making dinner.
Oh, that's nice.
Always bangers.
Awesome. Well, yeah, obviously can't wait to track you on your massive adventure for next year. But Pegleg, thank you so much for joining us here on Backpacker Radio.
Thank you so much for having me.
To the Trek propaganda portion of today's show, I'm going to move quickly here because this one's long and it's the weekend and I don't have childcare. And Madison has a plane to catch, although I guess that's a ways away, so I'm just going to accept full blame on this one. But this is a piece by Kelly Floro. No introduction needed. You'll kick yourself if you make any of these common thru-hiker mistakes. I'll give you the first two. One is overpromising, under-delivering on GPS check-ins. I think I've talked about my experiences with that with Jen. I actually talked about that recently on Skirka's episode. And two, Madison can speak to this, is skipping tick check. Always check your ticks because things can go downhill quickly. What were the worst symptoms that you had from Lyme?
I was kind of young when I had Lyme for the one time, but it made me really lethargic and tired to a point where like I'd gone to a doctor, but they couldn't find anything because the ring took weeks. So by the time like I had to go back to the hospital, it was a ring on my leg, but I couldn't walk.
Whoa.
Like my muscles were so, I don't know if like weak or what it would be, but I was couch ridden. Like I couldn't get off. Yeah, I couldn't walk around. I could not move.
How long after you took the antibiotics did you start feeling normal again?
So fast.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think, oh my God, truly like 48 hours.
Wow.
And luckily it was like kind of long Lyme, but not nearly long enough where like you need IV antibiotics or
Yeah.
anything long term.
Yeah, that's good. Well, to get all of the thru-hiker mistakes, there are plenty more. Head to the link in the show notes. Kelly's articles are always great. Question of the day. I presume this is yours.
Nope.
Oh, maybe this is mine.
Maybe.
Unless I'm just stealing Rachel's. This is a fuck, marry, kill for oceans, rivers, and lakes. This one's pretty easy for me.
Yeah. Kill oceans, marry lakes, fuck rivers.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it feels
Oceans
right.
are scary.
Yeah. I marry the ocean.
Nope.
I fuck a lake, kill a river. I'm thinking about just like living next to these bodies of water.
I would marry the ocean if it's like a tropical portion of the ocean, like the sandy, clear, really nice blue colored waters
Like
at
Caribbean?
Yeah, like that, Thailand, those that ocean I'll stick around for.
Yeah.
That's when I would kill the river. But just like your standard, I'm thinking like East Coast, like Jersey Shore, salt water. You can't see anything in it. It's cold. That I don't need.
I just like being next to an ocean. It always feels so good and peaceful and correct next to an ocean.
Yeah, more of a mountain squirrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm scared of the ocean.
Are you?
It's like, it is nice to look at,
Yeah.
but it scares me to think about being in it.
So what's your fuck, marry, kill on those?
Definitely kill ocean,
Yeah.
unless it is just looking.
Yeah.
Marry lakes. Yeah, like I guess fuck rivers. Love lakes.
Yeah. Did we all marry lakes? Or
I
did
think
we?
so.
No, I fucked a lake.
Well,
Nice little one night stand. Okay, this next one is mine, and I'm excited for it. I think this will be fun. This is the Triple Crown of Genie Wishes.
mm-hmm.
No context needed. You want to go first?
Sure. I wish that I would never be cold.
I feel like this is pretty low level. Like clothes could get you there.
No, I mean like never be cold. I mean like a cold night on trail, I'm not cold.
Yeah.
I mean a cold morning on trail, I'm not cold. I just don't get cold.
Sure. All right, I like that. I've got one that's similar to that, but I think takes it to another level, is weather control, especially while backpacking.
Damn, you can kind of never be cold
That
with that.
would be even better.
But you could also single-handedly be the problem of global warming, maybe. Like, if I'm never cold because I can control the weather, the ice caps are all melting because of me.
That's, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
But I would still want the weather to do its thing, and then just for me to be able to affect it in certain circumstances. Like, I think to spring out here in Colorado, spring kind of sucks. I mean, it's nice because you're getting out of winter, but out here there are so many days where it's like gale force winds, and like the forecast will show 60 and sunny, and then you go outside, it's like 35-mile-an-hour winds. You can't do anything. Just turn down the wind a little bit. That would be my superpower.
It would also be fun to be able to point and lightning hits.
Yeah.
Like, lightning.
Yeah.
You know, I'd just be walking around like that. Or like at a party, like, hey, you want to see a cool trick?
Yeah.
Lightning.
Playing God.
Yeah.
Turning off flash floods, that'd be pretty nice.
Yeah, that'd be killer.
Yeah. All right, what's your genie wish?
Okay, I think I want to be able to refill things. Refill abilities. Refill my water bottle. Refill my juice, my soda,
Whoa.
my snack. Like,
That's a
just
really
point
good one.
and like, boop, that's full again. It's whatever I want.
Especially on trail.
Yeah,
Never
you
running
never-
out of Coke.
You
Oh
never
my
need
God.
to Coke?
Coca-Cola.
Oh.
Either, depending on your through hike.
Never needing to go in for a resupply would be
Yeah,
great.
just
And I think the combo of never being cold and refill abilities,
Yeah.
you would have the lightest pack weight.
You'd be God on trail.
You wouldn't need any warm clothes. You would be able to just carry your day's food and then boop it back.
Yeah.
If you were later evaluating over the course of a year, what's the thing that you've refilled the most?
Refilled. Like, drink? I guess my water bottle. Like, I was so bad this whole last, like, 2-3 months. I'm packing out 2 liters of juice
Yeah.
every time I leave town.
What's your go-to juice?
Like 2 bottles. I get 2 different juices. Maybe like a body armor in one, like a grape juice or like V8 fusion or something in the
Yeah.
other.
Nice.
As much juice as possible.
Yeah. Well, we've got some element for you as well.
Hell yeah.
Kind of like juice. Snake draft, so you get another genie wish.
Another genie wish. I guess that's like cheating hiking if like you have like traveling abilities. At that point, you're not really through hiking anymore. But that would be so cool. I guess maybe traveling to and from places when you're not hiking, like at the snap of your fingers. Get to a road like you're in town.
Teleportation.
Teleportation.
That
But
was
I
on my
wouldn't use
list.
it to cheat the hiking.
Sure.
But it would greatly help around the hiking.
Yeah.
No, that would be so fun in non-hiking ways. This is
Yeah.
on my list because it's like it snowed yesterday. Today is Saturday. If we didn't have the podcast, I could just boot myself to Thailand and be on a beach and then boot myself back for work on Monday. Or if I was like really craving, you know, a certain type of food, I want to say Thai food, so I'm just brains there, but any type of food, I could just boot myself to a restaurant in that country and then come back and go to sleep in my bed.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Be great.
That boop became the verb.
Boop.
Yeah.
It would make, can you imagine how logistically easier it would be to do like a calendar year Triple Crown if you could save every travel day and turn it into, I'm there.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a nightmare component of what you're undertaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, my second one.
Really? It's my turn.
You went first.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
You definitely did.
What was yours?
My first one was weather control.
I did go first.
So my next one is that every time I'm in the ocean, I'm surrounded by dolphins.
Whoa.
Just like partying with dolphins. Like I have the ability, like I summon dolphins when I'm in the ocean.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Good luck following that, sucker.
You have no idea what's on my list. My next one is being able to extend the life of animals at no stress to them. AKA Harper's living forever as a young girl and not just like me extending old age and for a selfish way.
Does she die the day that you die, or does she have to live beyond you? Like, is she
We'll go
infinite?
together.
Like a vampire.
We'll go in the same coffin.
Those are both very Snow White answers.
Yeah.
extending animal life?
Yeah, I don't know. They
yeah,
both felt
she's
very Snow White. Like you're
One
talking
of
to
the
the
creatures.
animals.
Yeah.
Would you extend other animals beyond your dog?
Yeah, I would like be gracious with other people and their dogs, and I also would extend the future lives of future pets. I just don't think I have the mental strength to handle the day that Harper goes.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Do people have to ask you to extend the life of their pets, or are you just automatically doing it?
I could just like either way. They could ask if they know, but they could also just have like a cat that somehow miraculously is 30 and they're my friend and they don't know how it's lived that long, but like it's really cool that it has.
Oh, it's even better.
You know,
like
I could just they don't know I'm back there just being like tss, tss, tss.
I think some people want their pets to die.
Well, then I won't do it for them.
Oh, okay. So you're not automatically doing
Who
it.
wants their pets to die?
You know, sometimes
People,
pets get annoying.
Crusty little white dogs or something.
Yeah, but they're not in the crusty phase. They're in the prime.
They never get crusty. I think that would be the key.
Yeah. So I will be extending Harper's life forever.
Okay.
My last one is like kind of a little too real almost. I just want to be able to not have to worry about an income, and I want to be able to just sit at home and read my books and work on Mile by Mile and do all my little reading and my little projects and not need to like also support my life.
You're talking about retirement.
Yes,
That's
I would
what
like to do that.
like
But
to
I want to do
retire.
that before it's too, like, I want to do that right now. I don't want to be waking up and sitting at a desk for 9 hours and being like, man, what I really would rather be doing is getting more progress done on this project because it's all I think about and it takes so long because it's all in free time and not just all my time. And I love my job and I'm very happy that I have my job and it is a really good job. But I just want to lay on my couch with my dog, read my books, do my little projects, and drink tea and not have to worry about it.
Yeah. You can move to like a really low cost of living place and probably make that happen in the next like 5 or 10 years.
While maintaining the style of life that I have grown accustomed to.
That's the key.
DoorDash.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My last one is I'm gonna go with I would love to stop stressing being in the sun because I love being in the sun, but like since I've had skin cancers, it's become a real bummer for me. I would just love for no negative health consequences of being in sunlight. Just hanging out in the sun and not ever have to think about sunscreen or sun protection or anything like aging prematurely, anything like that.
That's a
Perfect
really good
health.
one.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more components to health, but yeah.
Just the
sun
skin, though.
specifically.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but why not expand it and just do perfect health?
Yeah, but then you could just, it gets boring if you go too broad with
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
All right, last one.
All right. I don't want to eat. I would like a pellet. You talked about this so much this year on trail, inventing, God, you'd be a billionaire. A pellet that like rehydrates in your stomach and water and you need like 3 pellets a day. I don't want to eat when I'm through hiking. Unless I want to. If I want to, that's cool, but I wish I didn't need to intake calories to hike.
Yeah. I feel like eating is my favorite part of through hiking.
When it is, it's
Yeah.
so good, but like you're on trail and you hate everything in your pack
Sure.
and then
Yeah.
you feel sick because you
Right.
haven't eaten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
fair.
think you'd have to like hand in hand eliminate taste buds. Because I would love the pellet idea, but if I still had my taste buds, that could be something that exists and I would probably like have to fight myself to do it because I'd want the taste of Doritos
Yeah.
or something. I have a sweet tooth. So I would also probably want to eliminate taste buds.
Yeah. Or you have pellet and then you can pack, you still have snacks, but you just
True.
don't need to eat as much. You're just eating for fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Sweet. That was the Triple Crown of Genie Wishes. Next one, it's been a minute since we've done a voicemail, and here it is.
So, hope you enjoy.
Oh, gotta start from the beginning.
So, I was hiking out of Chester.
Why is it not going to the beginning? Let me try this again.
Hello, hello. This is NoCo, which is short for No Commitments. And I thought it'd be fun to share my lovely poop story from the PCT this year. So, hope you enjoy. So, I was hiking out of Chester, and it seemed like everyone that went to this one restaurant got super sick with like noro or food poisoning or something. And I got it really bad. And basically I did like 0 on trail just before Lassen. couldn't keep any food down, kept throwing up. And the second day I was able to get past Lassen, but still only had like 1,000 calories that day. And on the third day I was feeling much better. And there's that like 16-mile water carry from Old Station to Cache 22 on that one like rim where you can see Shasta for the first time. And it's really exposed, but it's pretty flat. And I started to get cocky and was like, man, there's so much food in my pack that I want to eat. So I started eating like sour punch straws and a Snickers bar and Gushers, and immediately felt super sick. And I knew I had diarrhea. So I went pretty far off trail and dug a hole, put my pack down, started to poop. And I was doing it like pretty slow because otherwise it's just going to explode everywhere. And as I'm starting to poop, I noticed there's like these massive red and black ants climbing up my white pack, like loads of them. But I don't think much of it, and I start to poop. And then suddenly I feel a sting, and I look down, and there's one of these freaking ants biting the head of my penis.
And that's where it ended.
Why did it end there? I mean, I know it did because there's a note that says this cut off at such a hilarious moment.
Yeah.
Is there a time limit on the...
There must be, because it ended exactly a minute 30.
That's so funny.
What a hilarious part to end on.
Please send us the rest of this story.
Yeah, Noko, we need part 2 pronto. That's awesome. Mailbag. And the link to submit your voicemails can be a poop story, can be anything. Is going to be in the show notes.
Mailbag. I think I listened to you guys when you first came on and I backpacked. Not sure. But if Chauncey used a loaf of bread for a pillow and walked into a town threatening to beat some girl up because her butt cheeks were stuck together with pine tar, then it was this podcast. I didn't threaten to beat her up, but yeah, both were me.
I forgot about the pine tar story. Remember the pillow?
That was when County Dump told me that the best way to pee was to like sit on the edge of a rock, because then you're just like having a sit down pee. And she was telling me I had to try it because I was like, I don't know, it seems like a lot more effort than just like pulling your pants to the side. And so I was like, okay, I'll try it. I was on my way into a town. I don't remember which town. It was Northern California, I think. Pulled my pants down, sat on the edge of this rock, peed, kept walking, and then it just like felt like there was stuff in my pants, and I had put my hand in and brushed it, and some leaves came out, and I was like, oh, I must have like... my pants must have been so low that they picked up leaves from the ground when I pulled them back up. And then it just like, I kept feeling like something was weird, and I stopped, and I had apparently sat on like leaked pine sap from the tree above or something, and I couldn't pull my butt cheeks apart. I was so close to town that I didn't have any toilet paper left. And so my butt cheeks were stuck together the rest of the 8 miles into town, and I was able to scrape off the leaf scraps that was sticking to the sap. But yeah, it would
have been such a better story if you had to poop after that.
I couldn't pull them apart until I got, and I didn't have any water left either, which is the other problem because I was so close to town. So I couldn't wash the sap off with anything. And I also had decided that getting it partially off and then having it rub against itself would probably lead to a worse outcome than just leaving them together and dealing with it when I got there. So I left them.
I wonder what your farts would have sounded like.
I don't know.
Have you seen the Guess My Fart phenomenon on the internet?
No.
Oh, it's so good. It's like usually couples, and one of the couples will say, guess my fart, and then the other, or one of the partners will say, guess my fart, and then they'll make like or like a different sound, and occasionally they'll get the sound exactly right, and it's the best comedy of all time. I'll have to pull up one of these clips, but yeah.
Might not be my style of humor, but yeah, it sounds great.
It is objectively hilarious.
Anyway. Yeah, that was this podcast. Don't remember the context. I just remember commercials and very odd info, but I have no idea what I absorbed in school. I love that he doesn't remember the podcast. He just remembers the commercials. Even if not, I've listened to several episodes today and love it. You guys are great. I fell off a roof shortly after you started the podcast, and they bolted me back together, but I had to float my gear in a kayak instead of carrying it. My ankle is the Iron Man version now with metal plates and bolts. There's a lot to pull apart in that paragraph. The reason I was doubling back to the backpacking is because I finished 1,000 miles in Ohio connecting Lake Erie to the Ohio River in 3 different parts of the state, and now I want to try pack rafting. My backpacking gear simply went into my kayak years ago, but now I feel like I can split miles from foot and paddle. Anyway, the real reason I contacted you is because I didn't just want to be a taker, and I didn't see a way to give back to you guys for the content I'm enjoying. I also have this crazy dream of trail magic by hiking in and heating up 10 gallons of Cracker Barrel chicken and dumplings to a major suck stretch of the AT and just blowing people's minds.
Hell yeah.
Maybe small airport shots of whiskey along with it. Anyway, I need that location because I love doing outlandish stuff like that. From Don, one of our Chuck Norris patrons.
Hey, Don.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Don.
you. Peg Lake, what's the biggest suck stretch of the AT?
Suck stretch?
Yeah, like the worst, most boring stretch. I'm going to say northern Pennsylvania would be that for me.
Yeah, but you're getting so close to civilization there. That's like when you're
Yeah.
about to start deli blazing.
I loved Pennsylvania, honestly. I don't know why. I guess I had a friend come and trail magic us a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like the most suck was like southern Maine. Besides the views, because you're finally done with the whites, you think like, oh, I'm going to be fast. I'm finally picking up the pace. You cross into Maine and then you're still slogging for like 100 miles.
Yeah.
I will say if I were to be in the middle of Mahoosic Notch and see someone on a rock with like a massive vat of Cracker Barrel, I would think it was a hallucination. I think
Yeah.
somewhere in like New England past civilization, like New Hampshire, Maine area.
You're going to ask someone to hike into the Mahoosic Notch with
He
them?
said he wants it to be something because he loves doing outlandish stuff.
Yeah.
You can't
You could maybe do that.
Yeah.
Because, like, I guess when you get up there, then there's another climb after the Mahoosic Arm, but then you're at the road where you can hitch into, it starts with a B. Bethel.
Yeah.
Bethel, Maine. So you're actually in the Notch. You're only like 20-something miles from a road.
The bigger question is there a Cracker Barrel close enough?
That
I
is a
don't
really
know.
important question. Honestly, and like, that's a lot of climbing
Yeah.
with Cracker Barrel on your
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, 10 gallons of chicken, probably. not
God, it'd be
right.
so cool though.
So great. And people kind of forget about you by then. Like you get so much trail magic in the beginning, middle of the trail that by the time you get up there, it's like, oh, that was fun when that happened. So that's my answer.
Guess my fart.
Guess my fart.
Is one of these actually his fart? Or is he just making noises?
Second one.
Maybe. Guess the fart.
So it's just that.
Wow.
It's awesome. It's very
Yeah.
good. And if you don't like it, you're wrong.
Sounds fun.
5-star review. This is from Stephen Greenvan, 1987.
No, Stephen Grieven.
Stephen Grieven.
Such a fun name.
Stephen Grieven, 1987. The best. It's truly underrated how important it is to hear the logistics of planning some of these trips. Love all the great info and the considerations I had not thought about. Keep up the amazing work. No, Stephen Grieven, you keep up the amazing work. Thank you so much for your review. If you guys want to hear your review read on this podcast, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us any number of stars. Just not 1, 2, 3, or 4. And send us a screenshot of your review at podcast@thetrek.co and we'll send you a sticker. Super big thank you to our Chuck Norris Award winners on Patreon. That is Alex and Misty with Navigators Crafting, Andrew, Austin McDaniel, Ben Love, Brad and Blair from 13 Adventures, Brent Stenberg, Brian Alsop,
Fables.
Christopher Marshburn, Coach for Marine Outdoors, Derek Cook, Eric Casper. I've been looking for Don's name. I'm not seeing it on here.
Maybe he has like a different name. Maybe he's not a Chuck Norris level. Oh, it said Chuck Norris, didn't it?
Yeah.
Chuck Norris.
Maybe we have an outdated list, if that's the case.
Maybe.
Sorry. Eric Casper,
The Friendly Ghost.
Eric Hoffman, Jillian Daniels, Greg Knight, Greg McDaniel,
Maybe I heard of his name.
Griffin Hay, Would You Bring Me a Beer, Haley Buckingham,
Palace.
Liz Seeger, Old Man Murph's Coffee Roasters, OMMCR.com, Love You Polly, Patrick Ciancialo, Rebecca Brave, Sawyer Products, Spam, Timothy Hahn,
Hello.
and Tracy Trigger. You can follow us on social at Backpacker Radio on Instagram and TikTok, at Backpacker Pod on X, Facebook.com/Backpacker Radio. You can follow Madison. What's your Instagram?
Madison Blagden.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
You can follow Chance.
You can find me on Instagram at Juliana_Chauncey and on YouTube at Juliana Chauncey. And you can get my book, Hiking from Home, a long-distance hiking guide for family and friends, for a limited time in a nice little Christmas holiday bundle with Zach's.
Appalachian Trials and Pacific Crest Trials in the bundle. Also, we appreciate a review on Amazon. Subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on YouTube.
Hey, Internet.
What's up, YouTube? Hope you're liking our purple sign today. It'll be different colors every show. And that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening, and happy hiking.
Bye.